Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Mike is randomly clapping because we used to clap more often. Now we don't really clap, but Mike still is clapping.
They won the home opener yesterday. The Cavs clinched the 1 seed. It's a good day to be a Cleveland sports fan.
Yeah, I guess that's a good day. It was the least impressive
a win is a win.
Opening day win that I've ever seen on a walk-off
Three
walk
hits,
against one of the worst teams in the history of baseball.
Absolutely brutal game to watch.
Yeah, I don't know. The people that were there, it had to be tough. But hey, it is a win, right? That is ultimately all that matters. This is not college football or college basketball.
Is that pitcher a good pitcher for the White Sox?
No.
Okay.
Bull said
that's not fair.
Because he had a no-hitter going through 7, right?
Bull gave us a whole
five,
breakdown yesterday on Shane Smith.
Okay, let me rephrase. It's not fair to say he's not good. He hasn't pitched enough in the big leagues.
Fair.
The organization that he's probably not good, but he could be good. But right now, he's a guy who wouldn't be in the majors if he weren't any other team, he wouldn't be in the majors. Let's put it that way. And so it's not fair to say he's not good because he might be, but he's not ready to be good yet. And yet he pitched great against the Guardians yesterday. We obviously will get to the Cavs clinching the 1 seed. Took a little longer than we thought, I think, in this last month, but they got it done. Donovan Mitchell's not going to play the rest of the regular season, which makes a lot of sense.
We assume.
We
assume.
Probably. Didn't Kenny Atkinson say that he wouldn't play if they clinched?
He said it'd be his preference to sit Donovan, but if Donovan is going to make an effort to try and play, he's not going to hold him out.
I can't imagine Donovan's going to want to play. Who the hell knows? But
yes.
Anyway, and of course, with 15 days to go until the draft, we got plenty to talk about there, too. Ryan Konigsberg, who covers the Colorado Buffaloes. We'll talk to him about Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Both could potentially go second to the Browns. And we'll also talk about Jaxson Dart, the latest quarterback to catch some buzz involving the Browns. Guys, how we doing?
Doing great, man.
Yeah. You had your tennis show yesterday.
We did. It was
your
great.
New favorite sport?
Yeah, well, it is.
Yeah.
My new passion.
Yeah. How'd that go?
It's my life now.
Yeah.
It was great. The show was great. My buddy who from Tennis Channel who works with me, Mitch Michaels, is awesome, and it went really well. I didn't tell you about this, though, dude.
Yeah.
I totally just forgot about this. Bro, I had a kidney stone over the weekend.
Oh, that's the worst.
Miserable.
That was bad.
It's the best thing ever happened to me.
Why?
What?
Dude, I realized that it has been, I've had it for a year.
A year?
Yeah, dude, it's been
You've been in pain when you urinate?
I've been having trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm in my 40s now.
Yeah, right.
And so I just thought it was BPH, dude. And no.
I don't understand how it can't pass. It never passed in a year?
The doctor told me
Yeah.
it could be in there for a long time, whatever.
Wow.
But it was blocking my passageway,
Yeah,
so it was very difficult.
It sucks.
That's why I
get
kept
them
peeing all the time.
I know. I get them every so often, and they're very uncomfortable.
But, dude,
yeah,
what a game changer.
when it passes. Oh, yeah.
Dude, I'm free flowing, dude. There's nothing,
Yeah.
dude. So Saturday night,
Yeah.
it's like midnight. First off, it started like 7 o'clock. We're at dinner, and I keep going to the bathroom, and I can't go. I'm just dying. Dude.
Yeah.
I'm like standing over the toilet for like 30 minutes each time.
Ugh.
Can't go.
The hand on the wall, bracing yourself.
And I got to pee so bad, but nothing. So I go home, whatever, and I'm like, this is bad. I start Googling
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, this could be. So I went to the ER. Took myself to the ER,
Yeah.
and they did a bunch of tests, whatever.
Yeah.
And they were like, actually, your bladder's not that full because it's just, whatever.
Yeah.
And they did a CAT scan, and they're like, yep, it's like right there.
There you go.
About to pass into the bladder. He's like, it should pass in the next whatever. And it ended up passing on Monday.
Yeah.
And dude, it is like, I'm like a new man.
It is amazing how
It was
that happens.
the worst pain, worst discomfort
Yeah.
I've had in a while.
I had pain, I don't know, maybe, I guess it depends on the size of it. It doesn't seem like you could do that much damage because it's so small. Did you see it?
I didn't.
Yeah, sometimes you could see it.
They gave me a strainer to wait to get it, and I knew exactly when it passed because it felt like a weird sensation.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find it. I just let it go.
Where else are you getting this guy to talk?
Sorry.
When you're hitting your 40s, you know, when Dustin and I first started working together, he was in his 20s.
Yeah.
How old were you the first year?
2011, dude. So, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
28 or 29, whatever it was.
There you go.
Something like that. Yeah, and you were in your 40s.
I had just turned 40. That's summer.
Dude, crazy.
It is. I know. So, yeah, these are problems you have once you get into your 40s and 50s. And then soon you got to go for a colonoscopy.
I don't care about that stuff, dude.
So
I care about my daily life.
Oh, he had a colonoscopy yesterday?
He did.
Did he go in?
Yeah, he went and got the colonoscopy.
Bad move by him.
Then he was at the Guardians and Cavs game.
You got to do it at home, man. Do it at home, Jason. How'd you blow that? Much better doing it at home.
For my family history, I'm 3 years away from it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got to go
get
there.
Colonoscopy. All right. Well.
Yeah, but that's like they twilight you and you go home. You don't.
Jason said they knocked him out. He was asleep for the whole.
Oh yeah, I don't know why you did. You don't have to. You can do it at home. It's much easier. But anyway.
Wait.
Yeah.
At home, like
do what at home?
Yeah.
You can do a colonoscopy at home.
By yourself.
What?
What the
hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's gross, but
you
you essentially poop into a box and then you ship it and they test it that way.
Oh, that's way easier than.
Oh.
I'd much rather do that than have.
Is that as accurate as going in with a scope?
My doctor said yes.
Well, damn, that is better.
If there's any signs of anything, then you have to go for the actual colonoscopy.
Gotcha.
So anyway, now that you heard about poop and peeing, and
before we start, one last thing. So my mom visited this past weekend.
Right.
And bad job out of me because she asked me to say something on Monday. I totally forgot. And this is halfway terrifying, but also really cool.
Yeah.
My mom is not a big sports fan. She's not.
Right.
But she watches the show to support us, and she has found that chat is more entertaining than anything we say.
That is not true.
So
the chat is not entertaining at all.
To my mom.
Your mom.
These people in
the chat.
I've never really watched the chat.
Is her favorite part of the show.
Yeah.
It's nonstop. These people.
I know.
God bless them.
No, they're the best, and we disagree with the chat a lot. They disagree with us a lot. That is how sports shows work. But I just wanted to say to the chat, thank you guys for keeping my mom entertained for 2 hours a day.
There you go.
She doesn't comment
More
in
than
there,
us.
but she sees all the stuff you say. So she said,
so be
thank
nice
you.
to Mike.
No, you can say whatever you want. She understands it's part of the business, but she does appreciate the chat.
Yeah.
And she does have some favorites. I'm not going to say on air who her favorite chatters were, but some of you guys she's a big fan of.
Okay, look at that. They got their own fans. They're going to get big heads in the chat.
That's why I'm not going to tell them who it is.
I remember one time years ago when I was working in Utica, I was at a bar. I don't know how, I was talking to this guy for a minute. I had been with some work colleagues, and I'm talking to this guy, and he says to me, like, I'm Larry from Oklahoma. I don't remember exactly what it was, but something like that. And I was like, okay, I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And apparently he was one of like these regular Jim Rome calls. You know how Jim Rome used to have, I don't know, is Jim Rome still on?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
He was huge.
Yeah, dude, he was big when I was a kid. Like when I was like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, we'd be riding around to ball games listening to Jim Rome.
Yeah, he was big back in the day, right? I think he might still be on.
I
don't know.
Still is. You know, he just did an interview with.
He's still on.
He just did an interview with someone big that I saw a clip from, and I was like, "Is Jim Rome still on?"
Yeah,
and
so he's still on.
Yes.
Okay, but he's obviously not big anymore. But he was.
Yes.
And he at the time, and I don't know if he still does this, would do that smack off, which I'm not. I respect him, but I'm not a fan of Jim Rome. I was never a fan. I was never a fan of the smack off. I thought it was stupid. And all his terminology I thought was stupid. Whatever, to each his own. He's very successful, obviously.
Yeah, he's one of the
he's one of the godfathers of the business. No doubt. No doubt. All due respect to him. And this guy was apparently one of these callers, and he thought he was a celebrity. Like, he was offended that I didn't know who he was. And I had, in those days, when I was working in Utica, I was not only the host there, but I was also the program director because it's a small station. Mm-hmm. And so we carried Jim Rome on our station. You know, I actually was on, it would be Jim Rome, and then I would come on live. So I would listen to the show because it was on, but I wasn't paying close attention.
Yeah.
I certainly wasn't paying attention to the names of the regular people that called.
Yeah.
And this guy thought he was a celebrity.
Well, that's the people that call in a Feinbaum, who have now become.
Are they celebrities too?
Some of them that call in frequently enough.
Yeah.
There was the one from Tuscaloosa. She just actually passed away.
Oh yeah. Is he on Sirius, or is he on like a station down in the south?
It's just on the SEC network now.
Yeah.
They may simulcast it on Sirius, but it's on TV.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Anthony, let's get our first read of the day.
Yeah, guys, our first read today comes to FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Don't miss out and head to FanDuel.com/UCSS to claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
All right, guys, so we'll get to the Guardians winning their home opener in a little bit. Let's begin with the Cavaliers clinching the number 1 seed. They crushed the Chicago Bulls at home last night, 135-113. By the way, Mike unfairly ripping me on Twitter yesterday, saying that I and the others on the show had the under on Darius Garland when I very clearly said Darius Garland would go over the point total you made up. And he did, obviously. 28 points on 10 of 17 shooting, 6 of 10 from 3. The Cavs overall, 25 for 50 behind the arc. Everybody, Mobley shot it well from 3. Strus, Dean Wade, Ty Jerome was 3 of 4 from 3. Hunter was really the only guy that didn't shoot it well from 3.
2 of 7, right?
And of course, Hunter was
2 of 7 or
2 of 8.
2 of 8, yeah.
And of course, Okoro missed his threes because he can't play. But Garland, to have a game like that, guys, let's start there. Darius Garland as the Cavs clinch. So thoughts on the Cavs clinching. But also, we talked yesterday about Darius Garland. They need him to get back to the player. I don't know if it's fair to ask him to be the player he was in the first half, even if you split the difference and be the halfway between what he's been lately and the player he was earlier in the year. That's fine. Because what he was doing at the beginning of the year was probably even more than you expect. But you want to be closer to that than you've been lately. Last night he was sensational.
Yeah, I mean, in the first half of the season, he was in the elusive 50-40-90 club. Guards who have finished the season in the 50-40-90 club, there are like 13 in the history of the NBA that have been that efficient, and most of those guys were less three-point reliant than Darius Garland was. You can see in some of the clips from last night, he found his three-point jump shot again, made 6 threes. He talked about after the game needing a game like that to get his confidence back. He was going through a little mental tough time just from having so many shots that he considered good looks simply not go in. Kenny Atkinson talked about the fact that they changed up as a team their entire pregame shooting routine yesterday because in the month of March, the Cavs were the 27th best three-point shooting team in the NBA. In the prior part of the season before March, they were number 1. The 3 teams below them in March are all actively trying to lose, so not a great sign for the Cavs. So they changed up their shooting routine. It worked last night. They made 25 threes. And just from a confidence standpoint, I did a little breakdown on the floaters yesterday morning. Jason and I on the Ultimate Cavs Show this morning did a little breakdown on Darius's threes. It's all about the process. Is he getting to his spots? You can't make guys make shots, right? Some are going to go in, some are going to miss. That's the nature of the game. It's a make-or-miss league. But is Darius, and had Darius been getting to the spots he needed to get to be the efficient, maybe not 50, 40, 90 scorer he had been, but in that 40% from 3 range, he had been getting to the spots. They just hadn't been falling, and shooting such a confidence thing, Dustin, Bull, when you're making shots, you feel good, more shots go in. Last night for Darius to make 6, and in the fourth quarter, hit a step back, and then the next time down the court, take a heat check just for S&Gs because they were up by 20 and make it and then walk off the court laughing. I think it is a great sign for Darius moving forward because the Cavs need that version of Darius. Maybe not 28 points per game, but that confident version of Darius who's not hesitant with that three-point shot to unlock the rest of their offense and make a deep playoff push.
Real quick correction. I don't think it's fair to say that teams are actively trying to lose it. The players that are playing are not actively trying to lose.
The organizations are actively trying to lose.
Well, the organizations want the team to lose, but
the Jazz made up an injury for Lauri Markkanen that does not exist.
I hear you, but the guys on the court are not trying to lose.
Fair.
Anyway, go ahead.
No, I think you guys all made good points. Darius Garland, it's nice to have his confidence back. That stretch in the second quarter where I think he hit 4 threes in 8 minutes.
Yep.
It's like, damn, those are stretches where, like in the playoffs, that can be a difference between winning a game.
Yeah,
because that pushed out the lead, I think at that point, to like 20-something points. And you're not going to be playing the Bulls in the postseason, but still, you're going to need those moments when he has those he's on fire moments like NBA Jam where you just can't miss. And
by the way, you could play the Bulls in the first round.
Who cares about those guys? I mean,
No, but I'm saying you said
okay.
yeah,
fair enough.
I mean,
but I'm not.
That's
you're
not
not
what
worried
Dustin's
about
worried
them,
about,
but yeah.
I mean, I'm worried about Boston and
Sure.
whoever else may.
Yeah.
By the way, did you guys watch any of that Knicks Celtics
No.
game last night? It's crazy.
But apparently
finish.
they were watching it.
It was in the locker room. We were
right?
watching with the Cavs after the game because before they did media, they wanted to see how the
Sounds
regulation
like the
ended.
Knicks and Celtics may play in the playoffs, right?
2 and 3 seed.
Yeah.
It could be a second
Well,
round.
that's if they both make it. I mean, we know.
But I'm just saying that
Celtics
could be a
will make
potential
it, but-
second round series. Yeah,
And that would be a series. I'm guessing that they'd probably beat each other up quite a bit.
it'd be a good thing. That
Are
those
the
two
Knicks
go back and
definitely
forth.
getting to the second round? Are you that 100% sure? I mean, they're probably going to play the Pistons in the first round.
They should. Brunson's healthy again, which brings them up.
Right.
But Detroit is no easy task considering
But they
how
haven't been
physical they
playing
play.
well lately, for
Detroit's been
whatever
playing
that's
very well.
worth.
Yeah, the Knicks have been hot lately too. OG Anunoby's playing awesome. One thing from last night that
Yeah.
we didn't mention: the Cavs as a team made 25 threes, ball.
Yeah, I
25
mentioned
of
that.
50.
I
I know.
did mention that.
They were 51 of
Yeah.
100 from the floor. Evan Mobley had 3 threes last night.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
first 3 seasons of his career, so not this season, the first 3, Evan Mobley had 1 game in his career where he made 3 or more threes. Last night was the 13th time this season he's made 13 or more three-pointers. We talked about the evolution of Evan Mobley, needing Evan to step up and be a more confident three-point shooter and be willing to take those three-point jump shots if teams were going to sag off him and force him to shoot. And he's become not just a solid shooter, but a relatively consistent. He's shooting 37.3% from beyond the arc on pretty high volume for a stretch 4 this season. And the improvements he continues to make in his game as a shooter are going to open up driving lanes come playoff time. Kenny Atkinson talked about after the game that in the playoffs when the defenses shrink and they try to condense the court, you need guys to step up and make shots. And Evan and the confidence he's showing in that three-point shot needs to continue on to the playoffs because that's going to open up the driving and passing lanes that make the Cavs so dangerous.
Anybody concerned that Darius' best game in a long time comes without Donovan Mitchell?
Yes, that was my first thought.
Oh, really?
Concerned?
Yeah.
Not concerned, but like
is he going to be able to do that with Mitchell playing?
I hope it's not a coincidence.
Yeah, right.
But like he's done that in the past. Like he has those big games.
Yeah.
Both of them, by the way, have had bigger games when one player's not playing.
They play off each other very well. And that was the whole argument. Could they play together when they first got
for
here?
sure.
Darius, and as what I said earlier, had been getting the same shots and a lot of the same looks with Donovan that he...
So you don't think it's just coincidence?
I think it's more coincidence. Listen, he was 1 of 8 from 3 2 or 3 games ago in a game they lost. I forget who they were playing. If he goes 4 of 8 or 6 of 10 like he does last night in a game with Donovan, he's going to put up 28, 25, 26 points.
Yeah.
I think he just happened to make a couple threes last night. And they played 16 games in 29 days in March. They didn't sleep in their same bed, or not their own bed, but any same bed 2 nights in a row in the entire month. You can argue they're flying first class, private jets, all that stuff. It's still, the travel takes a toll on you.
For sure.
And I think as a team, when you shoot 27th, or you're the 27th best three-point shooting team in the league with the caliber of shooters they have, I just think it's a little bit of tired legs. And Atkinson mentioned yesterday, if it was up to him, he'd give everyone the last 3 games off.
That's a no-brainer.
I don't think it's going to happen.
That's
if it was
really
up to him, he
stupid.
said he has to talk to Kobe, the training staff, the players. They want to make a collaborative decision.
Yeah.
We could argue back and forth whether it's the right decision or not. Kenny said they're going to make an
Of course
organizational
it's the right decision. How would you argue that?
If some guys want to play to keep a rhythm, then it's up to them.
But wanting to, you don't, just because you want to play to keep your rhythm doesn't mean it's the right call.
The games aren't as important as the days. They're not going to play their first playoff game till either Saturday or Sunday, not this weekend, but next weekend.
Yeah, that's all right.
So they're going to have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 11 or 12 days before their next game. If some guys want to play in one of those final 3 games, I wouldn't play anyone more than 1 game. Now, Jarrett's going to play all 3 because he's on his quest for 82. He's going to play 10 minutes in 2 of those games, I would assume.
It's meaningless quest for 82.
Not my quest, it's his quest.
Yeah, okay.
So let him do what he wants. But if those guys want to play 1 game just to have a little bit of game rhythm in an almost 2-week stretch without playing, then I'm not going to hold it against them, but I would be shocked if we see Donovan.
Would
be shocked if
there's
we see
no
Donovan.
way Donovan. I can't imagine any way he's going to play the next 3 games. It would be insane to have him play.
I'd be shocked.
Even if it's the most minor sprained ankle, why would you risk it? Let him rest for 2 weeks and hopefully be good to go for game 1 against whoever the hell they're going to play in the first round. As for the rest of the guys, I mean, we've been through this Jared Allen argument already.
It is what
so
it is.
Stupid to me. There's no way I'm playing Mobley and Garland. Garland has been injury prone in his career.
And after that game, I kind of would want him to stay. Just your last
ended
game.
on a good note.
You played great. Your
it's
last
like
game.
yesterday. I'm doing batting practice for my Little League team, and there was a kid who just was swinging and missing at every pitch.
And he hits
And then his last 2 pitches, he hit like a foul ball, and then he hit a line drive.
Done.
I was like, done.
Done.
That's it. Let's end on a
Confidence.
good note.
Yeah,
Yeah.
confidence.
That's it. Obviously, it's professional. It's a little different, but still, end on a good note. Let Darius go into the playoffs off that good game. And Kenny, listen, Kenny Atkinson knows. He's a smart coach. He's right. There's no reason for these guys to play in these last 3. I don't know. You think they should play?
No, I feel like they're not going to lose in the first round.
No way.
Period. So, with that being said, that's where you shake the rust off.
That's right. Even if you're a little rusty you'd only be rusty in
You're
game
gonna play
1.
the Bulls. Even if you're rusty for 2 games or what, you're still going to win even if you're rusty.
You're going to play the Bulls, the Magic, the Heat, or the Hawks.
Yeah.
They should not have a problem. I know the Hawks played well against them early in the year before they had those injuries.
Different team.
None of these teams should really give the Cavs a hard time.
No.
So if they're a little rusty you want to even say game 2, I can't imagine it'll be past game 1, but I don't think it matters. And how rusty can they be? It's not like they're taking a month off.
And Kenny talked about they could do inter-team scrimmages.
Right.
They've practiced 3 times in 46 days since the All-Star
Yeah.
break. 3 practices in 46 days.
Yeah.
That week, next week, once the season's over, they're going to practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I have a good feeling that they'll be in a swing. I would err on the side of caution here. I don't think any of the guys have to play.
Yeah.
They may, once again, put Mobley out there to help cement his DPOY campaign, which Evan talked about yesterday. We did a whole breakdown on the Ultimate Cap Show this morning with if any of the guys need an extra game because they want to play, so be it. But I would err on the side of caution and hold these guys out.
I would not play Ty Jerome much, if at all, either, because he's coming off injury, too. The guys I would play a lot are the guys who will play a lot.
Merrill.
Are the guys who are battling for that last spot or 2
Coro,
in the rotation. Like, let's see how they're doing, how they're looking heading into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Javonte
Green, those guys.
Let's see, is there something we see in their game or with more playing time? I don't know. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the Cavs you can't afford any injuries here. If Donovan's not quite 100% for the first round, you'll probably be fine. But he's got to be 100% by the second round.
Yeah, and talking to him yesterday,
Yeah.
I didn't get the sense that it was all that bad. Kenny described it as a mild ankle sprain pregame, and then Donovan afterwards. I'd be surprised to see him play, but I don't get the sense that it's anything.
But we all
that's
know
long-term.
that with that type of injury, if you come back too fast, you could re-injure it.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
100%.
So he's so important. Obviously, he and Evan Mobley are the 2 most important players on the team. You cannot have a hobble. They're not going where they need to go with a hobbled
100%.
Donovan Mitchell. Again, you could win the first round with a hobbled, potentially a
Not win a
little
title.
off.
Nope, not
But
win a
beyond that, it's going to be hard to win without him.
Dustin, I got one question for you. They did clinch the 1 seed last night. They did a little mini celebration. Kenny said he wanted to, acknowledge the accomplishment. They didn't expect to win 63 and potentially 64, 65, 66 games this season. They clinched the 1 seed. It is a reason to do a little celebration.
First time in franchise history without LeBron.
And that's what I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
I know Dan Gilbert cares about the fact that they clinched for the first time without LeBron James. To the lifelong Cleveland fan, is that an important, significant accomplishment, doing something that they've never done without LeBron?
Of course it is, 100%. And honestly, it would be an accomplishment even if you have LeBron, frankly. The fact that you are able to be the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference when the defending champs are also in the Eastern Conference and they're really good is pretty remarkable. 100% should celebrate it and appreciate it. I know they put up banners for when they win their division or whatever, which is kind of stupid, I think. But look, in baseball, these guys are popping champagne after they clinch their division. Every round of the playoffs, they do champagne, don't they? It seems like, or whatever it is.
Now, in fairness, it's harder to make the playoffs in baseball and basketball. But I get what you're saying.
My point is,
I got no problem
I'm
with
fine with it.
celebration.
I'm fine with it there.
Yeah.
Why would I not be fine with it here? It's a big
Especially
deal.
for the 1 seed.
Dude,
Winning
yes.
the division, who cares about that? Nobody even pays attention to divisions. But being the 1 seed, that's quite an accomplishment. And to do
Absolutely.
it for the first time ever without LeBron.
Ever.
Crazy.
This team has done a lot of first evers without LeBron. Hopefully, they'll become the first team ever without LeBron to get to the finals.
To win a championship.
Even to get to the finals.
Yes.
Yeah.
To get to the third round of the playoffs. Have
Right,
they ever
right.
made a
They've
conference
never
final?
made. Yeah, that's right.
I don't think they've ever made a conference
No.
finals without LeBron.
So, hey, listen, it's been a very fun regular season. A lot of excitement. The last month for me has gotten tiresome. But with the playoffs now, squarely on the radar, I can't
Back
wait.
in.
I mean, even the first round, like when LeBron was here, the first round was like, he knew they weren't going to lose. And I'd be very surprised, obviously, if they lose in the first round, but I'm excited to watch playoff
They don't
basketball.
have the superpower that they had when they had
No.
LeBron. So
Yeah.
I feel like even though they'll be heavy favorites in every series,
It's still possible
going
they
up
could
to
lose.
the Celtics.
Yeah.
They're going to be favorites.
Yeah.
You're still going to watch the games with a little bit
No
more
doubt.
interest and concern because they've never been there before without.
That's right.
23.
And in the second round, if they played, say, Milwaukee or Indiana, I mean, we'd expect them to win, but that's far from a sure thing. They could,
especially
they'll be
Milwaukee,
favored in
man.
that series, but not like a crazy favorite like they'll be in the first
I
round.
think Indiana's a bigger threat than Milwaukee. As
Yeah?
crazy
They're a
as
better
that
team,
sounds.
but I'm saying Milwaukee's got Giannis.
Giannis, yeah.
Yeah.
And Dame, we just don't know if Dame's going to be in a playoff series.
Right.
If they have Dame, I mean, they
What's
could,
his status with his
it's a blood clot, so
blood clot,
just
yeah.
completely.
Oh, yeah.
He might be perfectly fine tomorrow, and he might not play
Yeah,
again
but
for the
when
rest
he's
of
on
the
blood
season.
thinners, he can't play.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I have no
It
idea.
Probably
on
doesn't.
the-
I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't.
I did a thing
Yeah.
with Zanotti on that.
Oh, yeah?
Or the guys at CFO, and they said, yeah, it's really concerning because you're on the medication, and so you got to be careful with everything you do.
All right.
So we'll see. Hopefully he can return and play again. I mean, everyone's worried about this year.
Yeah.
I'm like, I hope the guy can
Ever. I mean, Chris
and
Bosh.
also live a healthy life.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and you look at Wemby, who's blood clot in his shoulder, has
Yeah.
missed the last 2.5 months since the All-Star break.
Right.
Chris Bosh had his career cut short because
That's
of blood
true.
clot.
Great
So,
point.
if you
All right,
want more
for-
Cavs stuff, we did an Ultimate Cavs show this morning. Jason
Yeah,
and I
check
went
it
40
out.
minutes. Check it out.
From the last meaningful regular season game to the Cavs, for the first meaningful regular season game in Cleveland for the Guardians. Before we get to that, let's talk.
Yeah,
to
guys, before we talk about the home opener, message from our friends at Living for We. Gun violence is an epidemic, and it's the leading cause of death for teenagers. On this season of Living for We, we're asking what can be done to end the cycle of violence in cities like Cleveland, where shooters value their reputation over their own lives and see innocent bystanders as collateral damage. Living for We is more than a podcast. It's a resource for communities tired of chaos and ready to build peace. Living for We tells real stories from the most affected and solutions from change makers in the community. The families, the parents, the victims, and everything in between. The mission is simple. Empower communities to create safer neighborhoods free from gun violence by highlighting local heroes, connecting resources and solutions, and building bridges through honest community-driven dialogue. Join hosts Marlene Harris-Taylor and Maisha Watkins every other Tuesday for a new episode of Living for We. Keep your head up. You can find the award-winning show wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch the full episodes by searching for Living for We on YouTube.
So Dustin, now we talked.
We talked about him having better bladder issues.
Yeah, and now he's got to go to the bathroom. I mean, this is a record.
It's Guardians, though.
He broke Tyvis and Jason's record of quickest trip to the bathroom. Guardians win yesterday 1-0 in the home opener in a freezing
What a game.
progressive field.
What a game.
I had Little League practice during the game, so I couldn't watch much of it, but like the kids were asking me about the score, and so we were following it on the phone, obviously, and I'm like, oh my God, they're getting no hit by Shane Smith.
They had it on in the Cavs press room. I got to the Cavs game super early yesterday.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to be chaos downtown trying to park because the parking garage that we park in for the Cavs is the same as the Guardians garage. It's the fastest I've gotten to the garage all season. Don't know how, don't know why. So I ended up getting there early enough to sit down and watch a bunch of the game.
Right.
And every single time another person in the Cavs beat walked into the press room, how the Guardians doing?
Yeah.
At 0. You got hit yet? No. Next guy. Guardians got hit yet? No.
Yeah.
Guardians got hit yet? No. And eventually it's like, what's happening? It's Shane Smith, and I know you talked about him earlier.
Well,
but
they won a game where they were being no hit. They finished with 3 hits, I think.
3 hits, 1 area.
You know, I saw the end of the game. They end up winning it in the bottom of the 9th. Mike Clevenger, the White Sox, and remember, folks, like this White Sox team broke the record last year for the worst team in baseball.
History.
In the 160-plus year history of baseball, the White Sox had the most losses and the worst winning percentage in the history of the sport. And I don't know that they're any better this year. I mean, they just by the nature of the sport probably won't lose quite as many, but they're going to lose 110 easy, which is really bad. They could lose 120 again. This is a horrible, horrible baseball team. And so to not get 3 hits the whole game, obviously the offense is struggling. And the ninth inning, they let Clevenger pitch a second inning. Obviously, he was a starter in the past. He did a good job in the eighth. But then in the ninth, he gives up the infield hit to Carlos Santana and 3 straight walks. And I'm sitting there thinking, I mean, I know it's early, but I don't know why they didn't take him out at some point in that ninth inning. That was weird.
My thought was they must not have another option. And then I realized,
Well, they have plenty of options.
oh, well, you may be right. They don't have another option that they feel good about in any capacity. They leave Clevenger in here in the
Yeah.
full count. His 30th pitch of the night, or 31st pitch of the night, walks Nolan Jones. And you can see like the euphoria from Jones that they're just getting out of the cold. There's nothing worse than a 35-degree extra inning baseball game.
Yeah.
And, you take a win how you get it. It's an ugly win. It is what it is.
You can't really play a worse offensive game and win.
No, you can't. They got 3 singles, no extra base hits. They were 0 for 8 with runners, 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. They left 8 guys on base.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not going to win many games like that.
No.
But shout out to Ben Lively and the pitching staff.
Now that was the positive. Again, the defense.
Rocchio had another error.
Rocchio made and that could have led to a run because Luis Robert got on base and then stole second. And who got out of that jam? Was it Clase?
No, wait, in the 5th or later in the game?
No, later in the game.
Because
I think it was Klaus. No.
earlier in the game, Robert was on second, and whoever their 3-hitter is, and I'm forgetting his name.
Yeah, Andrew Vaughn.
No, he's 4-hitter. He ended up popping out, the 3-hitter. Hit one to right field. It was a single, but because it was hit so hard and Nolan Jones made a pretty nice play on it, he ended up holding Luis at third.
No, but the error was later.
I know. I'm just saying.
Right.
Two different times.
He was in scoring position.
And neither time he scored.
And he's their best base runner. But it was either the 8th or the 9th that he got on the error by Rocchio, and then Vaughn was up. They didn't score, but I can't remember if it was against Clase or I don't remember who pitched the 8th now. I think it was Gaddis in the 8th. It might have been. I think it was Clase.
It was Gaddis in the 8th.
It was Gaddis in the 8th that it happened against. So, listen, the positive from yesterday was they pitched well.
And it's a win.
They got a win. Ben Lively pitched well, and then they brought out all of their 4 main bullpen guys, and all 4 of them pitched, pretty much perfect in the game.
Clase threw 9 pitches, 2 strikeouts and 9 pitches.
Well, so here's what's happening with Clase, okay? Clase, this is crazy to say, throws too many strikes. It's a weird thing to say.
I know. I
know what you're getting at, but yeah.
He throws everything in the strike zone,
He's
or
too
almost
predictable.
everything. And so what guys are really doing now, and why the pitch counts, he's always kind of had low pitch counts generally, but even lower now because guys are trying to swing right away. Because they know he's going to be in the strike zone for the most part. They don't want to get to a 2-strike situation where you're guessing a little bit, and he'd be more inclined to maybe purposely throw it out of the zone with 2 strikes to get somebody to chase. But he's so accurate with his pitching and very predictable in terms of where the ball's going right now. And guys have adjusted, and now he's got to readjust, and I think he will. He's throwing more sliders now, which is interesting. And but guys were attacking on the first pitch.
Yeah. And
so we're seeing a decent amount of that. And but he pitched well yesterday. So did Smith, so did Sewald, and so did Gaddis. Obviously, the White Sox lineup is inept. I remember I was driving home listening to Hammy, and he goes, and now the White Sox best hitter up, Andrew Vaughn. And I'm thinking, my God, if that's your best hitter. I actually think Luis Robert's probably their best hitter, but still, Andrew Vaughn is...
If he's in the conversation, you have a terrible lineup.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Vaughn is like John Kenzie. He's more proven than John Kenzie Noel. But he's basically that type of hitter. I mean, he's going to hit 20, 25 home runs. He's not going to do anything else. He's going to strike out. If that's your best hitter, I mean, you suck, and they suck. And so, listen, they won. I don't want to be too harsh, but obviously the offense is struggling right now.
Nolan Jones had the game-winning RBI.
Yeah.
He walked, so take it for what it is.
Yeah.
He did not have a hit yesterday.
Yeah.
But he did hit the ball twice very, very hard. His exit velos on both his outs were 106 and 107. And it feels like, and you can say this with a lot of Guardians players, but him in particular with some of the contacts he's being made.
Yeah.
He's on the precipice of having a little breakout stretch here. I mean, the numbers are atrocious on the season.
Yeah, right.
I know he had the game-winning RBI yesterday on a walk, but it feels like we're right there with Nolan Jones on maybe turning a corner off this slow start. But he hit the ball hard twice yesterday, and I know we're taking little tiny victories out of a 1-0 win, but the fact that he actually put the barrel on the ball in 2 of his 4 at-bats,
Yeah.
compared to some of the other terrible at-bats that the rest of the lineup had, I left there saying, okay, maybe Nolan Jones is right there to turn this thing around.
I mean, baseball's a weird game because you could hit a number and get a hit. And
Or you could smoke it and hit it right
and then
at
you could
somebody.
crush the ball and make an out.
Yeah.
So, it's going to happen that way sometimes, and that's why some of these analytics are really good when it comes to baseball in terms of exit velocity and stuff, because it tells you if a guy's on the ball, if he's hitting the ball well and just getting unlucky. And there's been obviously some of that with Nolan Jones, and I think he'll be fine. I have bigger concerns about some of the other guys who have never really proven they can hit in the big leagues. That's certainly an issue, but it seems like everybody had a fun time at the game, even though it was quite cold. At least it didn't rain.
I'll tell you one thing. I didn't miss being out there at the
Cleveland
bars or whatever.
or what's the Irish pub we used to go to?
Flannery's.
Flannery's, right?
Any of
Flannery's,
those-
the
any of
Thirsty
those
Parrot,
bars.
all those.
Oh my God, people were just out of their minds.
Yeah,
It's crazy. I had friends.
especially with the
Did you go
Cavs
out
playing
tomorrow?
yesterday too.
No,
out
because
about?
the Cavs played last night, so I got invited, but I was like, I got to go work after this, so I don't
Yeah.
want to stand at a
Yeah.
crazy bar sober
makes
as can
sense.
be.
There were a lot of
Makes
drunk
sense.
people out yesterday.
Yeah.
I got out of the city as quick as I could
Smart
after
man.
the show
Smart man.
yesterday. I didn't want to hang around, but and the weather's going to be crappy all this week. It's finally supposed to warm up on Sunday, and I think next week's supposed to be nicer. But Guardians are back on the road next week.
What do you know about Sean Burke, Bull?
I don't know much about Sean Burke. He's like everybody else on the White Sox. He's a young pitcher, hasn't pitched much, hasn't pitched particularly well so far this season.
Do
What-
the
what's-
I don't think
Whites,
Logan Allen's right.
could a minor league team beat them?
Yeah, I mean, well, the nature of baseball anyway. But yes.
If they played against the Rubber Ducks tomorrow, I know it's not
It's
it's
double A.
A.
If they
but
played the Savannah Bananas in a 7-game series,
I don't know enough about the Savannah Bananas, like how good they are. But if you took like the Dodgers AAA team, let's say the Dodgers Major League team was completely healthy, and you had the Dodgers Major League AAA team would probably win a season series against the White Sox because half their roster would not be on most teams. Maybe half strong, but certainly a third.
What's their plan there? What's going on with the White Sox?
I don't know if they have
Why
a
are they
plan.
so bad?
Well,
Do they have any intentions
They
of
have-
winning anytime soon?
no. Jerry Reinsdorf's their own.
no, he's going to sell the team supposedly, which would be better for the franchise. First of all, they don't get great fan support.
Why don't they
It's
move-
not like
they
New
should
York.
move the team.
It's not like New York where like there's a split between Mets and Yankees. In Chicago, it's such a small percentage of the
Yeah.
fan base that gives a crap about the White Sox as opposed to the Cubs. But they've traded away some good players over the years, but they've made bad trades every time. All the young prospects they've gotten,
Haven't panned out.
almost all of them have not panned out.
They just got a haul from the Red Sox for Crochet.
Right. Well,
And who knows if those guys in 3 or 4 years are
right.
going to be good
And they
pros or
don't.
not.
What do they have left to trade? Luis Robert is the only guy on their roster. I'm trying to think about it. He is literally, I'm not exaggerating, the only guy on their roster. Out of 26 guys, he's the only one
That has any
that could
value?
bring any return. And even he wouldn't bring a huge return. He'd get you a decent return. That's it. If you said to me, who's the second best player on the White Sox, I don't even know if I could give you a definitive answer.
Who's the second best player on the White Sox?
I mean, it's either Andrew Vaughn, who would get you nothing in a trade. Martin Perez is a veteran pitcher who's a nice pitcher, but you'd get nothing. You'd get a low-level 1 prospect for him at best. That's it. Like, there's not a clear second-best player. They stink. It's crazy. So, yes, there are AAA teams that could definitely beat them.
Yeah. I remember the Orioles AAA lineup before they called up Jackson Holiday and some of those other guys. And they had like
Kobe Mayo, Jackson Holiday.
Colton Cowser.
At one point, they had Henderson there, too. Yeah.
Like that team
yeah.
would destroy the current iteration of the Chicago White Sox.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
So-
yeah. So, anyway. So, congrats to the Guardians. Sweep the series. The White Sox stink. Logan Allen's not very good, but so neither is the guy he's facing. So,
Would Logan Allen
got to
be
get
the-
the bats going. And I don't want to hear about this cold weather. I get it. It's harder to hit when it's cold, but
It's not impossible.
it was cold at Wrigley Field last night, and the Cubs and Rangers combined for 16 runs.
The Yankees, the game they had 20 runs against the Brewers. It was,
Yeah, it was
40,
cold.
45 degrees.
That's not an excuse, especially against the White Sox.
Yeah.
So let's get some hits going here.
One last question, we can move on.
Yeah.
Would Logan Allen be the ace on the White Sox?
Not really. No, because he's not any better than their pitchers. He'd be in their rotation. But no, Martin Perez is their best pitcher, and he's better than Logan Allen.
Okay.
But he's as good as any of their other guys, but I don't think he's any good. I'm not a fan. I know Jason and Jay like him more. I don't think he's very good. I think he's a back-end starter for any team. But there's nobody in their rotation except for Martin Perez, who's clearly better than him either, which is, tells you how bad they are. All right, Anthony, what do we got?
All right, guys, before we go to football, I want to remind you that this message is brought to you by Chewy. You've probably heard of Chewy. They really have everything you need for your pet to be happy and healthy. Whether you're shopping for food, treats, or even pet health care, Chewy makes it easy, fast, and affordable. With over 100,000 products from all your favorite brands, Chewy has everything your pet needs, from food and treats to toys, beds, and grooming. And it's not just for dogs and cats. They've got supplies for birds, fish, reptiles, and small pets too. Chewy makes it easy to manage your pet's health with prescriptions, telehealth visits, and in-person vet clinics rolling out nationwide. I know my family, we love how fast their delivery is. We order our cat food from there. Chewy's a great time. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. Right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewy.com or clicking the link in the description. Save $20 on your first order with free shipping by clicking the link in the description. Minimum purchases required, new customers only. Terms and conditions apply, and see site for complete details.
All right, guys, the Browns hosted Jaxson Dart on a top 30 visit yesterday. For what they're worth, Mike's obsessed with it, with mock drafts. Most people are obsessed, to be fair, with mock drafts. They have him going anywhere. We've seen some with him as high as 9, anywhere as low as the late first round. Kevin Stefanski traveled to Oxford for his pro day. And Daniel Jeremiah says the Browns have spent more time with Dart than any other team. Dustin, you've been interested in Jaxson Dart before. What do you think about him?
I have. I mean, listen, I think he's a really good player. He's an interesting prospect. I thought our interview with Greg Cosell was really good because he kind of clarified some of the things that I thought I knew about like that offense. And he really said that they do run a pro-style offense at Ole Miss. I just thought it was kind of like a run and gun, air raid type of offense. We're used to seeing a lot of these air raid quarterbacks come into the NFL and not have success, but he talked about the progressions that he has to go through and all these things. And so it makes me feel better about his ability to, diagnose and play the position. I think he's a very talented guy. I mean, played in the SEC at a high level, dude. Like when he was healthy, he was money. I don't think
what's the negatives with
I don't think
Jaxson
he's going to
Dart?
go number 2. I mean, the negatives?
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be a reason nobody's talking about him at the top of the draft. Do we know what the reason is?
Well, I mean, he's not Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. I mean, in terms of the hype train, I do think that if he's that good, the Browns don't give a rip what everyone else says. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're trying to find the best player that's going to fit the quarterback position for the next 10 years. Go ahead, Mikey.
No, I was going to say when you're done, Dan Orlovsky talked about the good and the bad with him. We got a little clip of that. If you want to hear from Dan Orlovsky.
I mean, the bad, I can't say a ton of bad because I'm not breaking on every tape he has.
Where did Cosell have him ranked amongst the quarterbacks? I can't remember.
Hey, he was there with Milroe. I mean, like the third.
But he likes Shuck more than those guys, doesn't he?
He likes
Cosell
Shuck
I think he had it Ward, then Shuck.
And then he had Sanders and Dart in that
tied
next.
for 3, and then Milroe.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what Dan Orlovsky of ESPN had to say, Anthony or Steve. Let's roll it.
Scouting report actually on him. Let's
touch screen. I'm a huge fan of Jaxson Dart. I think he's a top 10 pick. I think that when you watch his tape, I'm going to show you 2 clips. One clip I could sit here and point out to you guys, this is as good as it gets. This is against Florida, and I would sit here and go, this is number 1 pick of the draft type stuff. And in this game, he was sensational. And then I'll show you a clip, you go, dude, what the heck is this? This is late in the game, 1 score, we got a chance to go on the road and throw a game-tying touchdown, and probably the worst play this season. I want to bring it back to the first one, okay? So you're going to see the back go in motion, and what you're going to get is quarters defense by Florida. Quarters defense is a zone-centric defense, and everyone's got a responsibility on the defense, okay? You have a quarter of the field as the corner, you have a quarter of the field as the safety, and then this defender has that flat area, all right? And then the play concept is beautiful by the offensive Ole Miss. They're going to lift with the post. That takes that corner out, okay? And then you have a corner route by that receiver, and the read for the quarterback is just that defender. If that defender gets depth, remember that back that went in motion, we kick the ball to the back. If that defender gets nosy or plays the back at all, then we get the chance to throw that ideal corner route, okay? Everyone pay attention to Jaxson Dart because you're going to see him manipulate that defender. I want you guys to pay attention to what he does. You see how he quickly and subtly, eyes on him, you're going to see him quickly and subtly just peek to the sideline to get that defender to jump up and throw the corner in time. Watch his eyes in his head right now. Bang, get that defender, and then look, that ball's coming out before the receivers, making his cut, and it's thrown absolutely perfect. This is as good as it gets. That's top 5 pick at that position, number 1 quarterback spot. And then you go late in the game, and you watch him play, and you go, that looks like a completely different person. Very similar concept. We're going to get double posts up to the side. And I go, well, protection is nice and clean. And you're going to watch, you're going to get lifted coverage where these guys are going to run their defenders off. And here comes this big crossing route. Bang, Jackson, make that throw. And you're going to watch a guy throw a ball and just completely into a team party where it's just forced. And you're going, how come you're throwing the ball with 4 defenders for Florida there instead of taking that wide open crosser route? Dart for a visit or sitting down with them? That would be the one play I would want to watch first. Very first play would be the second play that I showed, the interception, and I would say, talk to me. Tell me what happened here because this is not who you've been on tape.
A great breakdown from Dan Orlovsky there. I know you're a big fan there, Dustin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he does a great job.
He finds the good balance of being too football in the weeds, but not being so basic.
He brings everybody in. I mean, like I can watch him, and I know exactly what he's talking about, and he could be more technical, but he's fine. But he also makes it so that like the fans who don't really understand all the exercises get a feel for what he's talking about, which is a really tough thing to do in this business. So, well done.
Yeah, Dan does a really good job, and Dan, if you ever want to come on the show, I'd love to have you. But Dan,
you can get him on anytime you want.
Let's get Orlovsky on, man. That's your next guest next week. Next Wednesday, we'll get Orlovsky on. No, he does a really good job, though. But in all seriousness, he talked about 2 things in that clip. A, manipulating the defense, which goes back to whether or not Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss offense translates to a pro-style offense, or is it too simplified, and Lane does such a good job of giving you the pre-snap read. You're looking right here. If this cornerback does this, you're throwing there. If he does that, you're throwing to this instead. And then 2 is the decision-making. And we did our quarterback breakdown series with Sean King earlier. The one, I don't want to say complaint he had about Jaxson Dart, but his one question mark with Jaxson Dart was, will he consistently make the right decisions and take what the defense gives him? Because sometimes, and you saw in that second clip, he wants the home run. And because he has the arm strength and the arm talent to make some of those throws, he plays a little loose with the football. And the interception numbers don't necessarily back that up. But when you go back and look through some of the decision-making process, even on plays that work, was it the right decision? And just because you can do it at Ole Miss against certain teams with inferior talent, can you get away with that at the NFL level? And that last throw that Dan broke down, the interception against Florida, came up in a few other games as well. So I think the one knock on him to the question earlier is he consistent enough with the right decision-making at the next level so that he doesn't put himself in disadvantageous situations?
And obviously that's a big part of being the great quarterbacks in the NFL are all good decision makers. You don't get to be the elite level if you make too many mistakes.
And Josh Allen, the perfect example of that.
Yeah.
He had taken his game to the next level. He's always good, but has become otherworldly quarterback God level good since he started cutting down on turnovers and being a little safe. Not completely safe. He still takes risks.
You can't be overly aggressive in the pressure moments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't take risks when the game's on the line. Like, there's certain times where you can be a little bit more aggressive earlier in the game.
But down one score right there.
Like the situation there, the situational awareness of Jaxson Dart in that occasion is like, you can't throw that ball.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah, that was a terrible decision there. And
but it's one play, and I would like to know, did he do that in other big games? Like, how consistent is that type of performance?
Right, because you could find a play like that for any quarterback.
100%.
Absolutely,
if you go through enough tape. The question is, when you watch all of it as someone like Dane Brugler or Greg Cosell or Dan Orlovsky or others do, how often are you seeing those mistakes? If it's too much,
is it glaring? Is it costing the team?
Yes.
Was he the reason why they didn't have success because of moments like that? Like again, I don't know the answer to that, but I think if there was a lot of that, what we just saw, it's a big red flag.
Yeah, And you mentioned Josh Allen, who until this year, his turnovers were a little high, but he's so uber talented that he could have higher turnovers than the average quarterback because he can make up for it. So the better you are, the more you can make up.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you're like Jaxson Dart's obviously talented, but he ain't Josh Allen level talent, and so he can't afford to make too many mistakes and still play at a high level. It's just not going to happen. So the question is, when you're the Browns or the Saints or the Steelers or wherever team's thinking about drafting Jaxson Dart, and you're saying you want the explanation. What is happening? What was going through your mind on this play? And is it, is that something that can even be fixed on a guy? Can you take that aggressiveness out of him without ruining his positives?
I would argue that his top 30 visit with the Cleveland Browns may be more important than any other top 30 visit with the quarterback they have because of the questions whether or not Lane Kiffin's offense is so simplified that it makes a quarterback look good versus were there more NFL concepts that the common eye can see. And when you get a Jaxson Dart in the room for 8 hours, which I believe is the length of a top 30 visit, and you get to work on the whiteboard with him, and you get to see him diagram certain plays and read certain defenses and put him through different situations that may not occur in an Ole Miss film session because they just run a different offensive system, which was obviously successful for Lane Kiffin and Jaxson Dart at Ole Miss. Can he translate what he did at Ole Miss into a modern pro-style offense and do those concepts that he ran at Ole Miss so well? I mean, look at the numbers, 81 touchdowns, 27 picks in his career. I know it wasn't all at Ole Miss, but those numbers pretty damn impressive. Does that translate into how Stefanski wants to run his offense? And for Jaxson Dart in particular, he played in the shotgun his entire career.
Yeah.
USC
right.
and Ole Miss. They were very, very, very rarely under center.
Yeah.
It's a chance with Kevin Stefanski and company to see if they can make that transition too.
I don't buy that the Jaxson Dart meeting is any more important than any of the other quarterback meetings because you don't really know. You can't. To me, if you draft a quarterback without spending a ton of time with him and talking to him, like I don't think the Browns spent much time with Johnny Manziel, if I remember correctly.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Which obviously was a huge mistake, and that's an extreme example because he's an all-time clown. But with all these quarterbacks, and even 8 hours is not really enough, but you have to have some sense of what the guy's made of. I think not enough is made of how much does this guy love football versus how much does this guy love getting paid. Obviously, everybody loves getting paid, but how much does he love playing versus how much is this just about the money?
Right.
Because the guy who is obsessed with football and has the talent is just going to be better. So I think all these interviews are really important. Getting to know the player, what he's made of, how coachable he is, how smart he is. These are things you can't learn from a test.
How many top 30 visits does each team get?
30.
Is it 30 top 30 visits?
30 players.
They've spent 5 already on quarterbacks. The 5 we know, Ward, Sanders, Tyler Shuck, who I said it right, shout out me, Jalen Milroe, and now Jaxson Dart. So at least a sixth of their official top 30 visits have been on the quarterback position.
That's why it's top 30 visits.
Yeah, I went on one of these.
A top 30?
To the Dolphins, yeah.
Was it a full day?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, I was there with more than one player. There was like 10 of us there.
The Browns had Milroe, Shuck, and Dart here yesterday.
Yeah, so I was there with a bunch of guys. In fact, I'll remember this was kind of so Nick Saban was the coach.
Oh yeah.
For the Dolphins. So I spent like a whole day with Nick Saban.
That's pretty cool.
And I remember I had like he had meetings with all the players, and so like I walked into his office, and he's like sitting at his big desk, and it's just me and him for like 45 minutes. I was scared to death, man. I don't know why, but he was like the most intimidating guy. I mean, he was totally cool, and I had a connection because Mel Tucker was coached under him at Michigan State, and D'Antonio at Michigan State, and all that stuff. But no, it was pretty cool. And then it was later in the day. We went to this like swanky country club for dinner, and just it was Saban's country club, of course. Well, maybe the team paid for it. Who knows? Whatever. But it was really cool.
And that's where the love of tennis began.
I wish we began earlier than the last 5 years.
The seed was planted, man.
I forget where I heard this, but before the draft last year, and I forget which team, and I forget where I heard it, but it was on a podcast, and talking about the different philosophies in terms of these top 30 visits. Some teams like bringing in guys one at a time so they can get their entire undivided attention. Some guys like bringing in a bunch of guys at once and putting them through like silly competitions, ping pong, just to kind of get their competitive juices.
See how they interact with other guys.
And for the Browns, Sanders was on a solo, at least quarterback solo top 30 visit. Ward was a solo top 30 visit. Dart, Milroe, and Shuck. That is literally. I hope they don't draft him simply so I don't have to go through this mental dilemma every time I have to say his name. Those three were all here yesterday.
Yeah.
Do you put any weight into the fact that the first two at individual visits, these two were brought in together and, had a top 30 visit in collaboration? Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you. God bless you.
Bless you.
I don't know. I mean, do we know what they've done in the past?
No.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I don't know.
But it's different. They did do Ward and Sanders. So, although wasn't Hunter with Sanders?
Yeah, but I'm saying from a quarterback standpoint, that was a solo.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
That's what I mean. Just
if
something.
we read something into it, we're just speculating.
Right.
I guess that's what we do a lot of that. So
Yeah.
I guess that's fair. But I guess I don't read anything into that necessarily, as if they're more interested in the other guys because they spent maybe more.
I'm simply
solo
asking a
time.
question.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I'm just simply asking.
Yeah, it's interesting. To see what they do, but obviously, and just because they've met with these five guys doesn't mean they're going to even draft any of them.
No.
However, it's not hard to connect the dots and say, well, it seems like they're going to draft a quarterback at least by the second round because all the quarterbacks they've met with probably they'd have to draft by 33. I don't know that any of them would get to the third round. I mean, who knows?
I'd be shocked.
Probably not.
When you look at the options to trade back up, let's say they get into the 20. Let's say they go to 20 just for the hypothetical to get in front of Pittsburgh. Do you have a preference on Dart, Milroe, and Shuck? If those are the three that are there?
You're going to make me say it wrong.
Jeez.
How many effing times can
it's
you
Shuck.
say it?
Because you told me how to say
Shuck.
it, and then you started pronouncing
Shuck.
it wrong.
When I say
Every time you think of his name, imagine
Shuck
you're
and
saying the
oyster.
F word
Yeah.
for the
Shuck.
end.
Oh, okay. That actually might help.
Yeah.
That might help.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference on those three if those are the three options at 20?
Well, I like Milroe.
Milroe's still your
But-
guy.
Whatever. A lot of people don't like Milroe, and everyone called me a clown on Twitter, so whatever.
Well,
I'm
that
probably right.
I don't know.
'Cause most people on Twitter are wrong.
I'm a little worried about drafting a guy with a name spelled Jaxson. I mean, that's a little concerning.
Jaxson.
I was going to name my son Jackson, actually.
With an X?
With an X.
With the S or no S? Jaxson.
It was top three
Really?
for names.
Not
yeah.
Jackson?
Nope, JX. And I actually know
highbrow name.
I have a friend of mine has a son named Jackson, and it's with an X.
Jaxson.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
What is your son's name? I know.
Tatum.
Tatum. Okay. Tatum
After
versus
Jack
Jackson.
Tatum.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I like Dart for the record.
You like Dart?
I-
Dart's your choice.
It is a cool name, though. Jackson Dart sounds cool.
I do. Of those three,
It sounds like a quarterback name.
Oh, yeah.
of those three, I do think I lean more towards Jaxson Dart over the other two. Milroe, more of a project. I totally understand the appeal of
Who's the
Milroe.
quarterback from Louisville?
Shuck.
Ah,
And
you
I did.
thought of the word.
I thought of the word that I can't say on here.
All right,
and
let's
it worked.
bring in our next guest. He covers Colorado. We'll get to Hunter and Sanders with him. Is he with us?
Yeah, before
okay.
we go to him, though, I do have a read
Yes.
from our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props, and from three-pointers to steals to assists, it has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
All right, Ryan Konigsberg is with us. Yeah, there he is. Looks a little like Ian Happ. You look a little like Ian Happ of the Cubs. You ever been told that before?
That's a first for me.
Yeah, you do look a little like him. I don't know if anybody in this audience besides me knows what he looks
I
like.
know what
the
it looks
only-
like. Yeah, I guess I could see it a little bit.
There you go. Ryan is from DNVR, shockingly in Denver. Who would have guessed that DNVR was in Denver, right?
Part of the All City Network. So
All City Network, yeah. So, I know this is not Colorado related, but we were just discussing if the Browns didn't take a quarterback at 2 and traded up to the back of the first round or at 33, between Dart, Milroe, and Shuck, of those three guys, I don't know how close you're paying attention to it. Obviously, the Broncos don't need a quarterback, but who do you like the most out of those three guys? Who would your vote be for?
My vote would be for Milroe, just because of the upside there with his athleticism. Obviously, it's rare in the NFL to be able to kind of hone in someone's accuracy and teach them that, but it has been done. And to me, it's like if I'm going to take a flyer on a guy later in the draft, I would go with the guy who has the highest upside, and I think that would be Milroe.
I agree with him. I agree. I think if you had to start them today, you'd rather start the other two guys over Milroe. Like if I had to start week 1, Milroe, Shuck, or Dart, Milroe's the last guy I would choose.
Yeah, he won't be ready for day one, but that's okay. It doesn't mean you still can't use him in the offense in a variety of ways. I mean, put the football in the kid's hands as a rookie, no problem.
Exactly. And Milroe might also have the lowest floor of the three guys potentially because he could just be a total nothing.
He'd be a runner, yeah.
But his potential upside, even if it's not a high percentage, is I think higher than these other guys.
He's probably not going to be Lamar Jackson.
No.
But
no.
It's crazy. I remember when Lamar came out, and these were the conversations people were having about Lamar Jackson, denigrating all of his arm talent, and he gets to the league, and now he's been a 2-time MVP.
But he was way more accomplished in college.
Fine, I totally get that.
But I get what
Won the
you're saying.
Heisman, all those things. But I'm just saying, there is that certain level of upside.
right.
And to Ryan's point, I mean, he will be the most athletic player on the field, and you put the football in his hands at every play, like that, you got a chance with that.
That's right.
You know?
So he's a unicorn, and Lamar was a unicorn, and another unicorn in the draft is
But it's
now the
unfair
guy.
to compare him to Lamar. It's too much pressure on him.
Yes.
But go ahead.
But another guy who is doing things that we haven't seen before, similar to the likes of what Lamar did coming out of college, is Travis Hunter, who is now at least the most commonly mocked player going to the Browns at number 2. And Ryan, you covered him for the last 2 years up in Colorado. We're going to talk a lot about the nuances of what he does, but in your opinion, is Travis Hunter a better receiver or a better cornerback?
Wow, it's the age-old question there. I'll say this, and maybe this is dodging the question a little bit. I think that he is more valuable at the receiver position because as a opponent, you don't get to dictate how involved in the game he is. If you put him at corner, and this is what happened a lot of the times, during Colorado football games, is the other team just looks away from him. And eventually that's going to happen with him in the NFL. Now, maybe people want to test him early in his career if he was on that side of the ball. To me, you put him on offense because he's so electric, he's so dynamic. His ability to make catches like the one, on the screen right now and the hundreds more that he made during his career is just really, really special. He's up there with anyone I've ever seen in terms of his ability to track and attack the football in the air. And so I'm not going to allow my opponent to say, we're not letting Travis Hunter get involved today. I put him on offense and make sure that he gets involved.
And Ryan is right. I mean, it's that simple. It doesn't even matter if he's better at corner, unless there was a huge gap between the two, which there's clearly not. But if you say he's a 9.9 as a corner and he's a 9.5 as a wide receiver, it's a no-brainer that you make him a wide receiver. Now I think he should play both. He wants to play both. I would let him. But if I had to choose, to me, it's a no-brainer that he plays wide receiver. I saw you nod your head. You agree that they should let him play both if the Browns draft him?
Absolutely. You have to at least try to use Travis Hunter in the way that he won the Heisman Trophy. I think you can get creative with it. That's my big thing. Is I just hope whatever team he goes to is willing to get creative and go outside of the box. Like, you've heard of a third down pass rusher. You've never heard of a third down corner. Like, maybe you can do that with Travis Hunter. Maybe you do bring him on the field in dime packages, nickel packages, whatever, and just allow him to do something that no one's ever seen before. That's what makes him so special. And so to me, if you're going to draft him in the top 5 of the draft, you have to at least give him a chance to be who he is.
Yeah, I agree.
If the Browns could get Hunter and Milroe, that's like my dream scenario if they don't take a quarterback at 2. You know what I'm saying? If they could, because all of a sudden, then the Browns offense, which really has nothing right now, and all their good players are older and they're going to be moving on. Like, all of a sudden, then you have 2 dynamic players with Hunter and Milroe. Am I crazy to think that'd be kind of a fun offense to watch potentially in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you combine Travis Hunter with Jerry Jeudy, and you have two guys who create a lot of mismatches for whoever is going to be covering them, and in different ways. And so I think that if you're Jalen Milroe in that situation, you're really excited about how open your wide receivers should be on a play-to-play basis. The Milroe thing is just a little scary to me. Like, I'm sure we'll get to this, but like, if I were the Browns, as much as I love Travis, and I think that's the safe and easy automatic pick, if I were the Browns, I would take Shedeur.
Okay.
That's what I was going to ask about.
So,
Ryan. Make the case for Shedeur Sanders. I'm not sure there's been a player in this draft that has generated more conversation. It's been more polarizing for his name, for his tape, for the good, the bad, everything about Shedeur. It's pretty easy to say, I like him because X, and/or I don't like him because of X. You've covered him for 2 years. You've been in press conferences, up at practices and games. Give us your Shedeur Sanders scouting report and make the case for the Browns taking him at number 2.
Yeah, I mean, from the moment that he got to Colorado, actually, I'll go before when he got to Colorado. The first time I watched his tape at Jackson State, I was blown away by his ball placement. And, back then the conversation was, is this guy going to be good enough to play at a high level at Power 5? And a lot of people thought the answer was no. And I just watched the way that he placed the football, and I was like, this is going to translate. Like, he has a gift for throwing that ball exactly where he wants it to go. And that's kind of a rare gift. The most accurate passer in college football history is Shedeur Sanders. And so that is the first thing that had me really liking his game. And then he gets to Colorado, and, I've been around the program for my whole life. I've never seen a player who prepares more intensely than Shedeur. I've never seen a player who takes his game so seriously. He is not about, the drinking and the partying and the smoke, any of that stuff. He's just about football. And I know that, obviously he takes the entertainer side of things from his dad and, enjoys the cars and all of that stuff. But really, when it comes to like his day-to-day life, he is all about ball. And so that, to me, makes him, the combination of all that, one of the more pro-ready quarterbacks that I've seen coming out. He's just so built for it when it comes to pressure situations, when it comes to toughness, when it comes to, understanding what it means to kind of like be the face of the franchise or the face of the program. All of that stuff, he's just so uniquely prepared for it because of his dad and because of the fact that he's always had that name across his back. So when you bring him in to be your quarterback and to be the face of your franchise, like, you're going to get a guy who has no learning curve in any of that.
All right, so I have a question about the Deion angle here, because it seems to be a talking point, obviously, for us and for a lot of fans out there that think that, this guy, and you kind of alluded to a little bit of it there, that he's, he likes cars and gold jewelry and things like that, like his father did, but also like his father wasn't really a party animal. Like, he was a super locked in, disciplined guy, and I like that about Shedeur. And I also think that if there's any player who's been more ready for the spotlight, the limelight, or to turn a franchise around, and who understands pressure, it'd be Deion Sanders' kid. Has anybody in Deion, all Deion's kids are pretty successful. Deion is super successful. Like, has anybody in that family ever lost at anything? Like, they're just a winning family. I like that trait.
Absolutely. And from a Brown specific standpoint, you're getting a guy who went to Jackson State, which was a proud program that was in a down era. He goes in there and he leads them to their best seasons in years. Comes into Colorado, which is a proud program in a down era, completely turns around this program. And obviously there's a lot there, but he's the quarterback. He's leading that thing. And so if I'm a Browns fan, I'm saying I want the guy who's already done it. Like, this is not he, went into a consistently winning program like Georgia or Alabama and lit it up. Like, he had to get it out of the mud when it came to winning football games at both of the programs he went to. And so that's another thing where it's just like, you don't have to prepare him for that. Like, to make a comparison that you guys will understand, like when Jerry Jeudy got to the Broncos, he had never lost. Like, he was so used to winning all the time that all of the losing, I think, really got to him, and he wasn't having a lot of fun. you're not going to have to worry about that with Shedeur Sanders. Like, he knows exactly what it's like to start from the bottom and bring a team up.
Ryan, when I watch Sanders tape, and let me preface this by saying I'm by no means a quarterback expert, but when I go back and I watched the All-22, I went back and watched as many games as I could find. Every time I left a Colorado game tape, when I went to go watch Shedeur Sanders, I left with saying, oh my God, Travis Hunter's amazing. And that's no knock on Shedeur, it's just that's how good Travis Hunter is. It has got in my mind that the best case scenario for the Browns on draft night is Travis Hunter at 2 and trade back up to get Shedeur Sanders somewhere in the middle of the first round. If you could pair those two up, they turned around Jackson State, they turned around Colorado. Ryan, do you think if the Browns or any team, but we'll use the Browns as an example, were able to pair those two up on the NFL level, they could turn around an NFL franchise too?
Immediately. I think that that's absolutely best case scenario for any team that could pull it off. The chemistry that those two have together, after week 1 last year, I called it telepathic. Somehow they just always know where the other one is going to be, where they're thinking. There's a lot of like back shoulder throws and just places where it's just like, man, these guys just understand each other on such a ridiculous level. And then I think you add in the comfort that the two would have immediately going in together. And it's like, it's kind of like you said, like they've turned around, they've done this twice. And either one, I think, is going to have a comfort in that situation. But for them to be able to go and do it together, I just think the confidence that they would have, which is just like, oh, it's us again, and we got to do this, like, easy. If you could pull that off, and it's sort of starting to feel like it's maybe slightly more realistic just because of the reports that Shedeur might, slide out of the top 3. If you could pull that off, that would be a all-time game changer, I think, for the Cleveland Browns.
Ryan, the 3 criticisms that we've heard about Shedeur, 1, the arm strength is not elite. 2, he holds on to the ball too long sometimes. And 3, I don't know if this one's accurate at all. We've heard it. I hate bringing these things up, but I want you to address it because you know him a little bit. Is he's been described, I guess, by some people as whether it's prima donna or arrogant or whatever. Can you address those 3 things and how big a deal you think, or even if they are a deal, any of them?
Yeah, I'll start with the, arrogant, brash, whatever reports that have come out. That's the one that I think I couldn't disagree with more vehemently. Being around this guy for 2 years, he was incredibly gracious with his time towards us, the media, towards our show specifically, multiple times went out of his way. One example would be at the Super Bowl, like, he saw us from across the room and was like, oh, like, I got to hop on the show with you guys. Like, you guys are from Boulder, blah, blah, blah. And his, whatever person who was handling his schedule out there was like, oh, sorry, Shedeur, like, we don't have any time. We got to be here, here, here. And he's like, no. We have time for these guys. Like, they cover the team.
Cool.
They're real ones. And that's just not something I'm used to seeing from like a, quote unquote superstar level player. And that's just one example. I think the good thing for Shedeur is when you actually get to sit down and talk with him, like these GMs and owners and coaches have gotten the opportunity to, you realize that he's a lot more down to earth, a lot more chill than maybe the online persona or, the media wants to make him out to be. He is, to me, the opposite of arrogant and brash when you actually get to talk with him. The other side of that is he's most certainly incredibly confident. Yeah. And if I'm trying to get a franchise quarterback, that's a trait that I'm looking for. It's not some sort of knock on him. Yeah. This is a guy who's going to believe in himself in any situation, and that's something I want. As for the arm strength, he obviously doesn't have the like Josh Allen type of arm that's going to blow your mind with the sidearm, cross the field type of stuff. But I can't think of a single situation in a game where he missed a throw and I thought to myself, like, oh man, if he just had a slightly bigger arm, like that would have been a big play. I mentioned earlier, but percentage-wise, the most accurate passer in college football history. And yes, was there short game? Absolutely. But he also has a highlight reel of dimes down the field on 9 routes. So, like, when it comes to blowing your mind with some cannon of an arm, he doesn't have that. But I think he has more than enough of the requisite arm strength to succeed. And, again, going back to Jackson State, people didn't think that was going to translate to the Power 5. And it did, and I think the exact same thing will be true translating from there to the NFL. What was the third one you said?
Was the thought that he holds on to the ball too long sometimes.
To me, that would be my biggest criticism of him. But the other side of that coin is the situation that he was in. I think a lot of times he felt like he had to be the reason for Colorado to win a football game, and he was right most times. They had no running game. The offensive line was terrible 2 years ago and bad last year. And he just got in a mindset of like, I have to make something happen. And I think that he got too into that mindset at times when he could have just, thrown it away or taken a shorter sack and moved on. But speaking of, highlight reel throws, you're looking at what's on the screen right now. Like, he did also make some of his biggest and best plays by getting out of the pocket, dodging a couple guys, and getting his eyes downfield. So it's a catch-22. I think you certainly have to coach him away from the making a bad play worse type of stuff. Mm-hmm. But you also are going to live with some of the, the kind of magic that he creates by dancing around in the pocket.
Ryan, you just gave us a terrific insight into Shedeur as a person, not the player. What's kind of Travis Hunter like underneath the helmet? If all reports seem like he's kind of the ideal kid you want to bring into an organization, but I don't know Travis from you. It's the first time we've met. What is Travis like with the media and how he's just kind of as a person?
Yeah, he's very different with the media, and I just think it's because it's not his thing. It's not like he was ever disrespectful or anything like that. I was actually talking to someone at Pro Day, and they were saying, like, man, there's some people that feel like he doesn't take enough stuff seriously, or he's not about this or that and the other. And what I told them is Travis Hunter doesn't care about anything if it doesn't directly impact winning. If it does directly impact winning, he cares about it a lot. And it's really one of the few things that he's all that interested in. It's, hanging out, fishing, and playing football and winning football games. And he's just really rare. Honestly, like, Shedeur is the only other one that I've seen like that, where it's like he didn't live anywhere near campus. He was never out partying. He was never out, really even being a college student. He was just preparing to be a professional football player and preparing to win football games on Saturday. And it's when you talk about like a dream kid to have in your organization, it's absolutely that. I think he'll end up getting more comfortable with the media stuff, given that, when you're going to be someone's high first round pick, you're going to have to do a lot more stuff. But he's just completely wired in a football sense, and it's almost all he cares about.
It sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I get the impression you think both Shedeur and Travis will end up being very successful NFL players, similar to what they were in college. If you had to place a bet on which one will end up making an all-pro team first, Ryan, would you bet on Travis Hunter or on Shedeur Sanders?
It's a great question. I think I would bet on Travis. And the reason I would do that is, one, because the NFL is obviously already stacked at the quarterback position, so there's a lot of really good players that you're going to have to knock off that are already kind of superstars in that regard. The same can be true of both wide receiver and corner, but I think because it's the same reason why Travis won the Heisman. Like, when someone's doing something that no one is used to seeing, you get kind of an extra bonus that no one else can compete with. So I don't know if they'll have to create a new slot for him on the all-pro team or just pick a side for him. But I think that he makes it because people are just in awe of the things that he's able to do on the football field.
That's a crazy question. There's no way Shedeur would get there ahead of Travis Hunter.
I should have asked who would be a star quicker. Maybe the all-pro accolade was not the proper framing of the question, but I think the answer still worked.
Hey, Ryan, Deion has had this amazing run at Jackson State and obviously now at Colorado, but he's had all these guys with him the whole time. What are the Buffaloes going to do? Like, what is the status of the team? I know they just got Marshall Faulk as the running back coach, and I'm still seeing them going viral and all these things. But who are the star players? Do they have any star players?
Yeah, it's kind of a new chapter in the coach primary, and it's exciting here because I think for the first time the aggregate roster is really strong. When they got here, they had to turn everything over. I mean, they took a 1-11 team, had to completely flip it just to be competitive. That was a team that lost games by an average of 30 points a game. So they go 4-8 in that first year. Last year, bring up the aggregate talent quite a bit, but they were still very reliant on stars. This year is, I think, the first year that they're going to have a good football team. Now, how is it going to compare to losing 2 guys who could go top 5 in the draft? I'm not sure. The stars, honestly, are going to be emerging, but they got a 5-star freshman quarterback named Julian Lewis, who is really special. They also got a transfer quarterback in Caden Salter from Liberty, who did a lot of great things at that level. So those 2 are battling it out to be the quarterback. And then they just have an insane group of talent in the wide receiver room that multiple guys are going to bust out. I would say Omarion Miller is a really high candidate for me to be the next star. Draylon Miller, who actually worked out with Shador at Pro Day as a true freshman, or I guess he finished his true freshman season, but he's still a freshman in college. He's going to be a star. So it's going to be fun to see. I think for the first time they're going to be a lot more balanced on offense because they have no choice. There's no Shador Sanders safety net to just kind of get you through games. And I think you're going to see a balanced, good football team out on the field.
Ryan, both Ohio and Colorado are represented on the worst franchise in sports list. Here we have the Browns. There you have the Rockies. Which is the worst franchise, the Browns or the Rockies?
My goodness. I would have to say the Rockies, and I would
actually agree, believe it or not.
Yeah, I would say it by quite a wide margin. The Rockies are a complete mess. The ownership is not interested in winning at all.
Nope.
They have a really, really cool bar that happens to have an entire baseball stadium at it, and they love that. They get 30,000 people to come in there and have some drinks and have a good time in Denver when the weather's beautiful, and they're just printing money off of that. There's no one around here who has any hope for the Rockies getting any better under the current ownership.
No. And it's a shame because when they were the Blake Street Bombers, I mean, they didn't ultimately, win a title, but they were fun to watch, and they were in the playoffs, and they were competitive. I mean, that was great. Now they're disgusting. They're like the White Sox. I mean, they're the National League's White Sox, basically. It's horrible. Anthony, wrap it up with I know you got a Nuggets question.
Yeah, I just have to ask, what's the mood in Denver today after the Nuggets implode a week before the playoffs?
And fire their whole team.
Yeah, shock, I think, is the big mood. The Nuggets actually play tonight on ESPN, so I think there's actually like a little bit of excitement just to see, is this going to work? Because, this isn't the reason they fired the guys, but I think the reason they fired them now is a last-ditch Hail Mary. Can we reclaim the vibes with 3 games left in the season and try to get some positive momentum heading into, the playoffs? It's like you've seen teams in normal parts of the season fire their coach and get like a little boost. And there's just like a sliver of hope that maybe this team gets a little boost from the changes. But no one obviously saw that coming yesterday. And people are still kind of going through it a little bit. Mike Malone is the winningest coach in Nuggets history, the only coach to ever hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy. So like he was loved around here. He had some great like one-liners that everyone latched onto. And obviously things have kind of gone south this season, but I think it's a little bit of like sad for Mike Malone, and then a little bit of, okay, well, let's see what David Adelman can do with this team.
Ryan, great insight, man. We appreciate it. You gave us a lot to chew on here with 15 days to go before the draft. Are people all in on Bo Nix? I know he had a great year, but are you a full believer in him being a franchise quarterback?
Yes, around here we call it a Bo lever,
okay.
And yeah, I'm in. I'm totally in, and especially alongside Sean Payton. I think that he, the combination of those two, I have a lot of confidence that Sean's going to continue to put him in advantageous positions.
And what's really impressive is the Broncos don't really have much skill position talent. They need
traded away Jerry Jeudy.
Why? Jerry Jeudy had nothing before last year.
Yeah, that was the most impressive part. Was Sean Payton went to the playoffs with a rookie quarterback with no running game and, one legitimate weapon on offense.
Yeah. I mean, they have as little skill position talent as anybody, so it was impressive. They got to get better around them. Ryan, great stuff, man. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again.
All right, anytime, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks, Ryan.
there you go. DNVR, part of the All City. That was good insight on Colorado. Let's do a read, and I just kind of want to follow up on what he said.
Yeah, guys, before we get into our next topic, speaking of chewing on things from the guest,
Oh.
you've probably heard of Chewy. They really do have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. Whether you're shopping for food, treats, or even pet care, Chewy makes it fast, easy, and affordable. With over 100,000 products from all your favorite brands, Chewy has everything your pet needs, from food, treats, toys, beds, and grooming. And it's not even just for dogs and cats. They've got supplies for birds, fish, reptiles, and small pets too. And it also makes it super easy to manage your pet's health with prescriptions, telehealth visits, and in-person vet clinics popping up all over the world, all over the nation. My parents and I use Chewy to order our cats' food. I love how fast their delivery is, and the auto ship has saved us tons of money. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. Right now, you can save $20 with your first order and get free shipping by going to chewy.com or clicking the link in the description. Save $20 on your first order with free shipping by clicking the link in the description. Minimum purchase required, new customers only, and terms and conditions do apply. See site for complete details.
All right, Anthony. Well, let's follow up on what he had to say. Obviously, he's covered these guys. He knows them personally, on some level. He obviously extremely high on both players. Does his comments about Shedeur Sanders, we asked him about the good, the bad, he addressed it all. Does his comments on Shedeur Sanders change your thoughts at all, Dustin, on whether the Browns should draft him or not?
I left blown away by what Shedeur did at the Super Bowl with those guys.
That's
that
really
was
cool.
Pretty cool.
Really
that doesn't necessarily make him a great football player, but very cool.
No, it means something bigger than football.
Right.
It tells me about his kid's character.
Yeah.
When he could do whatever he wants to do. So I think that's really cool. I already know he's a good player. Like, I have no doubt about that. I don't think that he's going to come to the league and the lights would be too big for him, or too bright rather. He'll be fine. I just wonder if the skill level is going to, does he have the elite level?
Well,
can he get to that elite level? I think he'll be a good player. The Browns don't need good.
Yeah.
They need somebody who's going to be, above that. A great player essentially.
Ultimately, that's why they moved on from Baker.
Yeah, but they also
good, but he wasn't. They didn't think he could be great.
But they also need to have somebody that's going to be a great leader.
Yeah.
For the franchise, somebody that people can feel really good about buying that guy's jersey, wearing it to the games, knowing that no matter what, you're going to have a chance because of that guy.
I think that the interesting thing about Shedeur Sanders is he may not have a huge upside. Maybe, I don't know. I think his floor is probably the highest, including Cam Ward. Maybe.
Yeah.
He's probably the least likely to be a total bust.
Yeah, he won't.
Right?
He won't be a bust.
He's so smart.
He
There's
might
no
just
way.
be like.
Might just be good.
I use him as an example a lot, but he might just be Andy Dalton.
Whatever. But that guy.
The Browns would kill for Andy
will
Dalton.
play in the league for a decade
Exactly.
plus.
No doubt
Whether
about
he's
it.
a great player, starter,
Right.
whatever, or if he's. I mean,
The Browns would kill for Andy Dalton. Let's be honest.
Dalton, Derek Carr,
They would
that
kill
level
for
of
that,
quarterback. And ultimately, if he's Dalton, Derek Carr, okay, he's going to start.
Yeah,
You're not winning a Super Bowl with that guy,
but those guys have been to the playoffs.
they have. Yeah, certainly Dalton was a lot of times. But the thing is, Shedeur's, some of his biggest strengths are more intangibles.
Yes.
And I think that makes teams nervous. And those things you don't have a feel for just meeting with a guy once or twice. Great leadership, used to the pressure more than probably any quarterback that's ever come out of college, or almost any quarterback, if not any quarterback coming out of college. Intelligence. A lot of these things are. Well, I don't know does that mean? I don't know.
You weren't here Monday.
Yeah.
We had the discussion. Why is Shedeur such a hard quarterback evaluation compared to some of the other guys? And
Right.
Jason brought up the point that, kind of along your lines, the stuff that we know he's really good at, the processing, the pre-snap reads, and understanding what a defense is trying to do. It's all mental, and you can't track that per se.
That's right. There's no
with a
stats.
specific statistic that points to X plus Y equals Z. The stuff that you can track, the numbers are good. They speak for themselves. 36 touchdowns, 8 picks last year.
Yeah.
You could look at the route tree. Corey Kimmin on Twitter put out his pass route accuracy and his frequency and did a really good chart. I would recommend looking at it. I think it's daftdraft.com is where he had it at, but Corey Kimmin on Twitter tweeted it out. Like a really good breakdown of some of the nuances in his game. But then the question is, does that translate from Colorado to the pros without some of the elite level attributes you would ideally wish a quarterback would have.
But isn't his accuracy an elite level attribute?
I agree with that. And I think ball placement, which goes alongside with accuracy,
Right.
is an elite level attribute. But arm strength and the ability to fit balls into tighter windows when everyone's faster, and you may not have that 105-mile-an-hour fastball, you're topping out at 97. Does it still get through those windows in the pros like it did college? And it was just I don't know the answer. I'm not a quarterback evaluator. But I think those are some of the reasons why Shedeur has such a wide variance and how not just we look at him and not just people on Twitter, but you hear from Zach Jackson and Jason Lloyd. Some guys have him as a top 5 prospect, and some guys think he's a second-round pick.
And, I mean, again, I'm not comparing him to these guys, but what was Tom Brady's elite trait coming out of college?
That's what Jason said.
What was Joe Burrow's elite trait coming out of college? I don't know that he was – is Joe Burrow it's his accuracy.
Yeah, and he throws a good deep ball. Like, I mean,
Joe Burrow doesn't have elite – he doesn't have an elite arm. He doesn't have that Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. It's good enough.
Plenty good enough.
And the reason Joe Burrow's special is the intangibles are through the roof. More than anything else with Joe.
He's a great leader.
Intelligence,
he's
his
smart.
leadership.
Yeah, he gets the team to believe in him.
Yes.
You know.
Well, Tyvis talked about that because Tyvis played with him.
Yeah, and he's unselfish. There's a lot of things to like about Joe Burrow. And by the way, I thought he was. I mean, maybe elite is hard to say, but I thought he was I thought he was an elite quarterback coming out of LSU.
Yes.
To win the national title,
I agree.
Amazing, talented receivers to throw to.
He was a no doubt first overall pick.
Yes.
No, right. But yes, as a quarterback, there was just a lot of his strengths are things that are harder to measure. If you just lined up Joe Burrow with some of the other best quarterbacks, those guys would be better at some of the tangible things.
Well, I promise you, there's not a more confident guy that plays that position than Joe Burrow.
No chance.
Well, he was in the same draft as Herbert and Tua. They all went in the top 6. And if you compared arm strength, Burrow, Tua, Herbert, I mean, Herbert probably has the stronger arm on paper.
But Joe can, you feel like he reads the brains of his wide receivers. And obviously he and Chase have played together a long time, so that's a little easier. But he just connects on a level, and that's what you're hoping if you draft Shedeur.
Yeah.
That he's of that ilk. And again, it's unfair to compare him certainly with Brady and even with Burrow. But you're hoping that he's the next guy that's better than his raw talent because he's so special in the brain, in the heart.
And one last thing on that, then we can move on if we want to. But when Jason mentioned and compared it to Tom Brady the other day, we made a little social clip and people were like, Tom Brady had elite traits. He was an elite processor and he had a great arm at the end of his career. When he was coming out of Michigan, we didn't know those things about Tom Brady.
And he would have been drafted in the 6th round.
And I wasn't old enough to remember that draft process, but you don't fall to the 6th round if you have elite processing. Oh, and by the way, you happen to have a top 10 arm when you're 45. You could project that out. You're not falling to the 6th round.
Right. Was it Drew Henson that he was splitting time with?
Yes.
Right,
you can develop some of these things throughout your career.
Yeah.
I think, and Dustin, tell me right or wrong because I don't know the answer. Is it easier to develop the mental side of things or improve on some of the physical side of things as a prospect once you enter the NFL?
Man, that's a good question.
Thank you.
I don't know that there's an easy answer to that.
It's probably position by position, player by player,
probably
right?
So. I think there's certain things that you can improve upon in terms of physical strengths as a quarterback, as a player in general. But like the mental approach, you probably have to have that. Like I don't know the guys who don't have confidence in college get it in the NFL. I mean, the NFL is very humbling.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with leadership. That's hard. I mean, as you mature, maybe you grow into it a little bit. But
but also it's tough to have the confidence to come into the locker room when you're 22 years old and be able to lead grown-ass men who are 35 years old and have families. You know, there's a certain level of authenticity that those guys can they can read through the bullshit. They know if you're a good leader or not.
Doesn't the quarterback ultimately have to be the leader of the football team?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, you can't.
Look at the Browns last couple of years.
Right. You can't. It feels like you can't. I don't think you can be successful as a team unless your quarterback's the leader.
The only team I could think of that may not have been the case was that Ravens team with Ray Lewis when Trent Dilfer was the quarterback.
But I bet Flacco was still.
No.
Oh,
2000,
the first one.
2000.
With Dilfer.
But that was a different era of football.
Yeah,
so it may be changed.
Right, like I know you. Well, I don't know if you care about him much these days, but you're a big Giants fan, and I remember, like when Eli Manning first came to the Giants, he wasn't really a leader. Tiki Barber was the leader of that offense,
and Strahan.
And it wasn't until Eli Manning became a leader, that they reached another level as a team.
Yeah.
He needed to lead that offense. It couldn't be the running back.
Yeah.
And
we're seeing that here. I mean, Nick Chubb, we all love Nick Chubb to death.
Yeah.
But if he's the leader of your offense.
Yeah. You think Nick Chubb is in the NFL next year?
Nick
Yes.
Chubb?
Yes.
In the NFL, yeah, I think
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
I still do. I'm holding out hope.
What, that he comes back to the Browns?
Yes.
I don't think he's going to.
I said I'm holding out
Yeah.
hope.
I mean, at this point, especially after the draft.
He's not going to sign until training camp.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe not.
I think you're just being
after the
nostalgic. I
draft.
think you're being nostalgic. I mean, because he's Nick Chubb. Like
That's
he-
I'm holding out
but,
hope,
like,
yes.
the hope would be, I mean, for him to come back to the Browns, he'd have to be a hell of a lot better than he was last year.
Sure.
You don't want a bad player on your team.
Right. Yes. And ultimately, they're going to draft. I think they're going to
drafting
draft
the guy,
the back
yeah, absolutely.
fairly high in this draft. And then what's the role for Nick Chubb, even if he were here?
Mentor.
Yeah, and that's something that I wanted them to do. But I think, I don't know. At this point,
Dude, we don't have enough roster spots for coaches that are players. Like
Right.
He's got to. If you're on the
Well,
roster,
if he's their third running back, though,
still, I mean,
Jerome, whoever they draft, and then Nick Chubb as your running back room.
He would have to have a massive leap from where he was
Yeah.
physically, his health from last year.
and they could.
To this year. And
They could.
He could.
The ship has sailed, I think, with him and the Browns. I think he's going to – there's probably some teams right now that, don't have any good backs. And if they don't get somebody high in the draft, I think somebody will give him a chance.
Like,
and I
look-
think it's possible he can bounce back. But
For as long as Zeke has bounced around the league, and,
Yeah.
he was an elite back early
Right.
in his career, even this last year, I mean, he got picked up at the end of the
No,
year.
he
by
stinks.
I know he does.
Yeah, at this
But
point.
he was still in the league.
right.
That's my point.
Yeah. If Nick Chubb's healthy, he'll get a job.
Yeah.
He'll get a job. But his days of being a bell cow are probably over. You never
Sad.
know. But one other thing about the Browns before we move on and get to the Cavaliers here.
We still got another Browns topic.
I don't
We got
think
one
we
more
have time
Browns
for
topic.
it.
Or do you just want to go straight to the Cavs topic?
Yeah, I think we should go.
Yeah, we'll save the Browns
Yeah,
offense
save
for
the
tomorrow.
Browns
Yeah,
topic,
easy,
'cause
easy.
I don't think we have much time for it. But, oh man, I lost my train of thought. One other thing.
Nick Chubb,
Zeke,
Browns,
drafting a running back.
Shador, Travis,
Come on.
Ryan, Denver.
It's escaped me.
Sad.
I got sidetracked by you suggesting we still got to do a Browns topic.
I was saying we had one more in there, but
Yeah,
we'll save
yeah.
we'll save it for tomorrow.
No,
That's an easy one to save for tomorrow.
Shoot. All right, let's do a read. If I think of it, we'll get back to football. If not, we'll go to the Cavs.
All right, guys. Well, today our Cavs topic comes from Living for We podcast. Gun violence is an epidemic, and it's a leading cause of death for teenagers. On this season of Living for We, we're asking what can be done to end the cycle of violence in cities like Cleveland, where the shooters value their reputation over their own lives and see innocent bystanders as collateral damage. Living for We is more than just a podcast. It's a resource for communities tired of chaos and ready to build peace. Living for We tells real stories from those affected and solutions from changemakers in the community. The family, the parents, the victims, and everything in between. The mission is simple: empower communities to create safer neighborhoods, free from gun violence, and highlight local heroes, connecting resources and solutions, and building bridges through honest, community-driven dialogue. Join hosts Marlene Harris-Taylor and Maisha Watkins every other Tuesday for a new episode of Living for We. Keep your head up. You can find this award-winning show wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch full episodes by searching Living for We on YouTube.
All right, I remembered the thing I wanted to bring up real quick about the Browns. So for years, we've talked about the fact that the Browns have consistently been lacking speed on offense, right? This is something we've talked about forever. And even when they had speed, like an Anthony Schwartz, it was a useless player. Think about this for a possibility. What if the Browns, in theory, drafted Travis Hunter at 2,
Jalen
Milroe at 33, and then at 66 took a Travion Henderson, or one of these really fast backs. They could go from consistently being one of the slowest teams to having 3 incredibly elite, runners who are also talented in their offense.
I swear I have a topic on my list of topics of could the Browns suddenly jump to being one of the most athletic teams in the AFC with a draft that looks a lot like that.
Right. I mean, think how creative you could be down the line if you had I keep forgetting his name, Milroe. I don't know. I'm having a shuck moment.
When you think of him, think of Phil Rowe.
Think of Phil Rowe.
And then change it to M.
Okay. So if you had Phil Rowe, a.k.a. Milroe, Travis Hunter, and, say, Travion Henderson. I don't know if Travion Henderson gets to 67.
Probably not, but
or another
for
really
the sake of this,
fast back, whatever. I mean, there are so many possibilities because not only when we talk about Travis Hunter, not only we talk about him, being a wide receiver and a defensive back, but he could play special teams. He can be a return guy, right? You could put him in the backfield. They kind of used him as a running back.
Imagine having in the shotgun, Milroe flanked on each side by Hunter and Henderson. And running some sort of jet motion with Hunter coming in motion this way and then some sort of speed option the other way with Milroe and Henderson. I mean, that's 4-4, 4-3, and 4-3 on the field.
What would you do? What are you doing defensively? If you're playing and it's Milroe,
you make him throw short
Travion
passes.
Henderson, and Travis Hunter in the backfield. I mean, I don't know how often that would happen. But
I mean, it's a really tough spot because you have to have a spy on Milroe at all times.
Yeah.
And then you're torn a little bit because how much man do you want to play in the back end because you don't want your guys playing their back to the quarterback. It's just that's why you draft a guy like that. If he can figure out how to throw the football.
Kind of a big part of the equation.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm being a little sarcastic when I say that, but I mean, if he can throw the ball with more accuracy and become a competent thrower in the league, no brainer to take Milroe at that position.
Is he the second fastest quarterback ever besides Lamar?
What did he run? 4.37 or something?
Yeah, 4.37 I think was the official number.
I mean, what did RG3 run?
He's a 4.4.
Fast.
Okay. What did
we looked it up the other day.
What did like Kaepernick run?
Not that fast. He was a long strider.
4.5. He's a long strider. You're right. Thinking about the.
What about like Randall Cunningham back in the day? Steve Young was really fast.
Michael Vick.
Michael Vick was a 4.4 guy. I think Michael Vick.
Mike Vick was a 4.33, so he's officially at least third. Because Lamar was a 4.32.
And he was a 4.37, Milroe?
Yeah.
What was Randall Cunningham? I don't even know. Maybe he wasn't that fast. I always thought of him as being super fast.
Lamar was a 4.34, so actually a 10 slower than Michael Vick. You want Randall Cunningham?
Yeah.
Michael Vick, 4.33. I got the whole list here.
Yeah.
Reggie McNeil, 4.35. RG3, 4.41. Brad Smith from Missouri, 4.46. Lamar, 4.34. Milroe, 4.37. Justin Fields, 4.46. Josh Allen, 4.76. That's interesting.
On a track, a rubber track. So this is not the same surface.
Yeah.
According to Google, Cunningham once ran a 4.29. On a rubber track's faster than turf.
Oh, okay.
So rubber track.
How much of a difference is that, Dustin? You're a track guy. 4.2 on a rubber track. Randall Cunningham a 4.29.
I mean that's very fast, but a rubber track is not.
It's enough of a.
He ran a 4.42 on the turf.
All right, so he's obviously Milroe
in the conversation.
Outside of Michael Vick and Lamar might be the fastest quarterback of all time.
Yes.
So that's and we know he can throw the deep ball. We know he's through the roof smart. The question is, can his deficiency, and it's a big one, as a short to intermediate accurate passer, which is he's very poor at. Can that be fixed?
And fellas, if you think that Stefanski is an amazing coach and can work with any quarterback and make a quarterback, then he should put that guy in an offense that fits.
That's right. That's right. And he doesn't. I don't think you need to make him elite because he's not going to be elite as as an accurate. But can you make him solid? Can you make him solid, and then he can take advantage of everything else that he's great at?
Yep.
All right, Anthony, go ahead.
Well, here, get right into the Cavs topic, and then before Supers, I'm going to do one more read at the end.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Mike, we got, I don't remember our Cavs
I'll
topic.
set
Go
it
ahead,
up.
set us up.
So I was talking to Earl, and Earl's not feeling well. He was supposed to be in this chair today.
Slacker, Earl.
Slacker. No, he's not feeling good. I talked to him. His voice
kidding.
is, we don't want him getting anyone sick. And we were talking about how much fun this Cavs season has been. Now, they clinched the 1 seed last night. They haven't had a ton of meaningful games in the last month because of the gigantic lead they had built over Boston. We're talking about how much fun, in general, this season has been for Cleveland. They over-under win total preseason was right around 50. They're 63-16 with 3 games to go. They can tie the franchise record for wins. And the question I asked Earl was, not just Cavaliers, but Browns and Guardians/Indians included, is this the most fun regular season that you've been a part of in terms of watching and being a fan of the team? Is this the most fun regular season you've been a part of? Now, I've only been in Cleveland since 22, so my limited knowledge of Cleveland regular seasons and that list is very short. But I'm curious for you, Dustin. Where does this Cavs season on the fun meter? Obviously, there's still a lot more to accomplish.
Yeah.
The regular season, where does this rank among the most fun regular seasons you've had as a Cleveland sports fan?
It's up there. For sure, it's up there. I would say that we had a ball when LeBron came back.
The first year.
Yes. Like
because
the
it was
first
so
year,
exciting.
which was 2015.
It was a
right?
14-15 season.
That was fun
Mm-hmm.
because it was just like
It was new and fresh.
You know how bad the Cavs were.
Oh, of course.
Dude, we were like, excited when they signed Andrew Bynum.
The year before.
Right.
The year before, they signed Andrew
We're like,
Bynum.
can they make the 8 seed?
I remember
Play the Heat in the 8 seed.
We were at, what was the bar we were at? Opening night.
Harry Buffalo
downtown.
Yep, never
trying
forget
to having a conversation about could the Cavs get the 8th seed with Andrew Bynum. That's how sad Cavs basketball had become. After that first LeBron year, the regular season became a little boring because it was like
Correct.
Colby when the playoffs hit.
Correct. I think the other year that was good was the 08-09 season. They ended up losing the playoffs to the Magic, but that was
the 66 wins.
Yes.
That was the
And
franchise
I went to a
record.
lot of games that year.
Yeah.
I was in Buffalo at the time. I remember I actually had brought some of my teammates back to a couple games.
Right.
But it was a fun year.
So I would say, is it the most, for me, no, since I've been here, because I had so much fun in, it was the Guardians, I can't remember now if it was 2012 or 2013, when they made the wild card. They had to win their last 10 games.
13.
Yeah, of the season to make
and you
it.
went to the White Sox game.
That's right.
What's his face?
Jason Giambi hit a walk-off homer.
You went to Chicago?
No, it was here.
Oh, it was here.
He was here.
Jason Giambi was playing for the Guardians at the end of his career, and they had to win 8 in a row or 9 in a row to make the playoffs at the end of the year. And they were playing the White Sox, and this was maybe the third or fourth last game to the season. They had to win it. And he hit a walk-off homer, and there was only maybe 20,000 people at most at the game, but everybody there was going bananas. I was just sitting in the stands. Everybody was high-fiving. People were crying. It was one of the most exciting moments I've ever had. I don't know that was the whole season, but that was a lot of fun that regular season. The 2017 Guardians season after the World Series, remember they had the 20-game winning streak.
22, right?
22, whatever it ended up being. That was the most we talked about baseball besides playoffs. The whole city was caught up in that winning streak. Because that's like, to win that, it was like the Cavs at the beginning of this year.
Baseball is different. I mean, that was crazy.
That was crazy. To win every day in baseball like that for 3 weeks
Everything's got
was nuts. As Dustin said, the first LeBron year, because the Cavs, when we first went on the air, until LeBron, were almost irrelevant because they weren't any.
They're winning like 20 games.
They were so horrible. We had Kyrie, and he was great, but the rest of the team sucked, and they were hard to
we
watch.
talked ourselves into freaking Deion Waiters being a great player.
Yeah. We were excited about Alonzo G.
Alonzo G.
There's some great-
What was our
Oh,
guy
nice.
who went to the Jazz, who used to come, hung out with us a couple times. What's his name? Nice guy. You remember that
Darius something?
No.
What position? Big guy or
like
guard?
He was like a small forward.
Yeah, he was a wing player, but
Three-point
not.
shooter. What was his name, dude?
He came to the bar with us a couple times.
He did. And then he ghosted us once he left town. He
Yeah,
unfollowed us on all the social
Yeah,
media.
I know. I
Damn.
don't know what happened.
CJ Miles?
CJ Miles.
What a
pull
That's
that
it.
was.
That's
Pull.
a nice pull.
I love
We
playing
loved
him
CJ
in
Miles.
2K. He was awesome.
Back in those days, we were friendly with what's his name, the tight end for the Browns. We were friendly with Joe Schobert. You could always count on him to talk.
The tight end was from Stanford.
Was it Barnage? No,
Not Barnage. It was the other
Who's
guy.
the guy we were obsessed with, right?
The smart
From
guy.
the Seahawks. No. Yeah, no, you're right. I can't.
From the Seahawks, Geno
I
Smith?
don't know. I'm drawing a blank.
I'm saving your ass on everything.
I
here.
know.
mean,
Listen, I'm
and
getting
I don't
old.
have that good a memory.
I'm getting old here. But so these were all, and the Brian Hoyer Brown season, that was a lot of fun. And then Johnny Manziel ruined it at the end.
Was the Brian Hoyer start of the season? Because that was a really good start.
Yeah.
How did that compare to the Flacco December? Because in my short stint in Cleveland, I know the Flacco December is 1 month of a much longer season. That season in totality wasn't as fun because there were so many ups and downs.
Yeah.
But that month, the Flacco month when they won those 4 games in a row and clinched on Thursday Night Football against the Jets, that was as fun as I've had talking to sports in a minute.
But I don't know.
Man, the Browns were, in that year, they got off to, they were what, 7-4?
I think. And then they were 8-5. And then they lost every.
And it was Deion Sanders who said need to pay Brian Hoyer.
That's right.
On Thursday Night Football.
That's right. They beat the Bengals on Thursday Night Football. I remember getting on the air that next day. I'm like, Browns are going to the playoffs. And they lost every game.
Sanders was on NFL Network saying a blank check.
Yeah,
Brian Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer, yeah. And then Johnny Manziel became the quarterback, and then I think his first game was against the Bengals, and
it was the worst game
I've ever seen a player play.
It was like he'd never played football.
Yeah, and every team wanted to just kill him.
Oh yeah,
everybody hated him.
Dude, it looked like you took a kid from like 8th grade, and put him on the varsity.
Right,
and he just looked like he didn't belong at all.
Yeah, but that was. I mean, the 2020 Browns was fun, but it was COVID. There was nobody in the stands, so that was hard.
It was really fun if you were a bartender during that season. That might be one of my favorite regular seasons. I worked every Sunday shift at the Browns game, and it was a blast.
So there's been a lot of fun seasons. Even, I obviously Dustin's been here his whole life. I've been here a lot longer than you. But so I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but certainly it's up there. I mean, outside of the first LeBron year, I've had the most fun.
I wasn't living here at the time. I was in the league. But, I mean, I'm sure like the 07 year was really good.
Oh, yeah, for the Browns.
The Indians, did they go – they were like, what, one game away from the World Series that year?
Yeah. And then – right, and the Browns were really great with Derek Anderson.
Yeah. Because 07 was the year that the Rockies won the World Series, right?
Well, the Rockies lost.
No, they lost to the Red Sox. To the Red Sox.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
So that was
Yeah.
But the point is, they would have played the Guardians would have played the Rockies.
I mean,
you would have thought they would have been able to beat the Rockies that year.
I would have imagined, I would have imagined that any year for the Indians from '94 through the early 2000s had to be a ton of fun. The place was sold out all the time. And I say '94, even though there was no playoffs in '94, because they were really good in '94. Yeah. And then the strike shortened, ended the season. And then obviously they were excellent. In fact, one of their teams, I can't remember which one, holds the record for most. One of those '90s Indians teams holds the record for most walk-off home runs in a season. I don't remember which year it was. I'm drawing a blank, but they hold the record. That, to me, those Indians teams of the late '90s were the best team I've ever seen over a stretch of time to not win the World Series.
They were really good. Yeah, I wish.
If only they traded Jared Wright for Pedro Martinez. Damn it.
I do wish Earl was here because he has 37 years now of life experience in Cleveland as opposed to my 3 years. So.
But it's certainly been fun.
But
this has no doubt been a very fun. The problem with basketball is just the regular season's so long that eventually you're like, oh.
Well, especially if you're as good as the Cavs were early, and you just get this gigantic lead where they haven't played a meaningful game really in all of March. But I think what makes this Cavs team in particular so fun too, and you guys could agree, disagree. They play a fun style of basketball. They try every night. Very rarely do you have these. Now, granted, they've clinched. They're going to have rest days, but they had very minimal rest days throughout the season. And it's a likable bunch of dudes.
Yeah, that helps.
It's hard.
That helps.
Does anyone not like some of these guys on the Cavs? Like, they're all genuinely likable guys.
Well,
I think that plays into it.
I think that's part of the reason that the Browns with Brian Hoyer were more fun than the Flacco Browns, and not because of Flacco, but just because Watson was kind of hanging over the team, and there wasn't any of that in those days with Brian Hoyer.
Who were some of the guys on that Hoyer team? Was DeQuell on that team?
I think he was on the team.
Was he still here?
Yeah.
I thought he was gone by then. But
2012, dude.
Oh, yeah. Was it 2012?
Was Brian Hoyer 20?
Yeah, because
2013 Manziel was drafted, and then he played. There was the Josh Gordon year, because 2012, I believe, was the year that Gordon had
right. No. So that wasn't the year.
So in 2014 would be the
right.
Sorry,
2014.
Okay, so it was 13 was the good year with Hoyer,
right?
And 14 was the year that Manziel ruined everything,
right? Well, no, it was the year Manziel ruined everything. Was the year Hoyer played most of the season.
No, 2014 he played 14 games. 2013 he played 3 games for us, so it would have been 2014.
Yeah, so it was 14.
So who were some of the other guys on that team?
It's so hard to remember now. It's 11 years ago.
Well, Josh Gordon was the best receiver the NFL's ever seen for 1 year.
I remember that.
Well, and I think he had a stretch of 6 games where he had like 100 yards.
Yeah, like 200 yards a game.
It was crazy. And what was incredible about Josh Gordon that year was that he only played 14 games because he was suspended, of course.
Yep.
He had 1,300 yards.
It was bad quarterbacks. No, he had 1,600.
1,600.
He had bad quarterbacks throwing to him. The Browns had nobody else in terms of the passing game, so you knew it was going to him. And he caught everything.
Everything.
And he would break tackles, and he was just like...
They had no one else.
That season, I'll read the stat line. We'll do Super Chats. 14 games, 87 receptions, 1,646 yards, 9 touchdowns, 61 first downs. He averaged 117.6 yards per game.
That his yards per reception might be the best of all time.
What was that,
Earl also
25
says
yards?
2007 Browns was his favorite.
Yeah, I mentioned that with Derek Anderson.
And that 4-game stretch you mentioned, Bull?
Yeah.
5 for 125, 14 for 237. By the way, he had 237 yards, and they scored 11 points. Next game, 10 for 2.
Who was 11 points against? Was it Seahawks?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Next, 10 receptions, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then 7 for 151 and a touchdown.
I mean, that is just that's like 800 yards in 4 games, maybe more than that.
Man.
He was crazy. Well, I remember
crazy,
when
yeah.
Dustin and I
Crazy.
first saw him at training camp, we were like, this guy is unlike anything I've ever seen before.
Never seen a player like him.
I mean,
He was like
just a
DK
freak.
Metcalf before DK Metcalf.
Yeah, right.
So
He was just he so stood out from all the Browns receivers who are a bunch of, guys.
So stupid that
And that
now a legal supplement
destroyed his career.
Ruined it, yeah. Whatever.
Destroyed his
Supplement.
career, yeah.
So,
Drug,
all
All
right.
right, let's go.
We got to
Super
read
chats,
in Super
Anthony.
Chats.
Before we do Super Chats, guys, I want to remind you one last time that this is brought to you by Living for We. Gun violence is an epidemic, and it's the leading cause of death for teenagers. On this season of Living for We, we're asking what can be done to end the cycle of violence in cities like Cleveland, where the shooters value their reputation over their own lives and see innocent bystanders as collateral damage. Living for We is more than just a podcast. It's a resource for communities tired of chaos and ready to build peace. Living for We tells real stories from the most affected and solutions from changemakers in the community. The family, the parents, the victims, and everything in between. The mission is simple. Empower communities to create safer neighborhoods free from gun violence and highlight local heroes, connecting resources and solutions, and building bridges through honest, community-driven dialogue. Join hosts Marlene Harris-Taylor and Maisha Watkins every other Tuesday for a new episode of Living for We. Keep your head up. You can find this award-winning show wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch full episodes by searching for Living for We on YouTube.
Look at this, Steve. Not Steve Becker, but director Steve coming through with the tweet show. It was the 95 Indians that hold the all-time record with 9 walk-off home runs. That's pretty crazy if you think about that. That's like one every 17, 18 games,
that
a
is
walk-off home run. That's nuts.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Anthony, with Super Chats.
All right, first one from Brody's Bottom Line. Cavs were established in 1970, not 2003. And then he also
said they were
says that
established in
Dame is not coming
2003?
back this year.
Who said 2003?
I'm not sure what that's in reference to, but he
We
said
never
the
said
Cavs
the
were
Cavs were
established.
That's when they drafted LeBron James. He's probably making a point that they were around before LeBron James.
Oh.
But
yeah,
they still
never won
they've
anything.
never done
All
it.
of our
Yeah.
points were still relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one comes from Derek Spina. Jalen Milroe could be our Lamar Jackson.
He could.
I wouldn't hold your breath for that, but you never know.
He
No
could.
one thought Lamar Jackson was going to be Lamar Jackson.
I like Lamar. I didn't think he'd be this good.
Yeah, I liked him a lot too.
You like Josh Rosen in that draft more, though. So you can't really say you like Lamar if you like Josh Rosen
You like
more.
the Jewish quarterbacks.
We needed a Jewish quarterback. We've had no representation. We did win a national championship as a basketball coach.
You got the
but,
BY Jew coming next year.
BYU, he's got a chance. I'm not going to hype him, though, because
Sean King's high on him. High on
I
him.
can't do it. I sold out with Josh Rosen. But I like Lamar, too. I was wrong about Rosen. I was right about Lamar. And I said Sam Darnold would stink. But I didn't like Josh Allen, so I was wrong there.
All right,
Go ahead.
so to review that class, you
Yeah.
were wrong on Rosen,
Yes. Wrong on Allen.
wrong on Allen,
yes.
wrong on Darnold. You actually Darnold.
No, I was right on Darnold. I said he would stink, and he has.
He's very
Until
good
this
last
year, he had one decent
So
year.
we'll give you a maybe on Darnold. What was your take on Baker?
I think it's been kind of. I thought he'd be good.
So
not
you're
great.
2-2-1. Not terrible. All right, next one.
Curtis Reeser says, I've been saying Dart the whole time. And then the
Good
last
film,
one
Curtis.
from William Beck, it says, Hi, Mom McNuggets. Please send us Mikey McNuggets Lucas baby photos. Thank you.
If y'all
Will
really
your
want,
mom send those?
Yeah, if she's watching, she will probably flood my inbox with baby pictures tomorrow.
She should just start posting them in the chat.
No, don't do that.
I don't think you can.
Yeah,
you
thank
can't
God.
put
I don't think
pictures
you
in
There's
the
no
chat?
images in the chat.
Yeah,
I don't
honestly,
even know.
if you can put images in the chat, that would lead to some bad stuff.
I would be a lot busier during the
Yes.
show if there was
Okay.
images during the chat.
Every once in a blue moon, when I go in that chat, I don't even know how to look. And somebody makes a comment to me directly, I don't even know how to respond to them.
You put the
At
sign
sign.
and then type out their name.
I had no idea.
Yep, just like Twitter.
I didn't know that. I don't really ever chat on YouTube.
Well, now
But
you
every
know.
once in a while, when I'm not on the show, if I have a few minutes, I'll put it on, see what the hell you guys are rambling about, And, then somebody will comment or something, and I'll be like, hey, F you or something like that.
Yeah.
Got to get throwing a good F you every once in a while, right?
G. Bush sits in the middle chair and is in the chat for 87% of the show.
I know. Yeah, that's
I
true.
see his phone sitting there, and it's just like
That's the
rolling.
chat. He's in the
I don't
chat.
know what's
I know.
happening there.
He lives in the
what I'm
chat. Earl does the same thing. Earl lives in the chat.
Dude,
It's unhealthy.
It is because
Yeah.
remember back in the day we used to try to avoid Twitter during the radio show.
Yeah.
Because it would affect our if
Yeah,
someone
yeah, get pissed off.
said something about you or made a comment or maybe it was personal, maybe it wasn't,
Yeah.
whatever. It would affect me.
I went from being very affected by what people said to being almost completely unaffected by it.
I was affected by something today.
Oh, really?
On
What did
Twitter or
somebody
what?
say?
Yeah, I did. We did a whole Evan Mobley for DPOY campaign on the show this morning, and my guy Tim, who runs B-Ball Index, quote tweeted, and I like Tim for the record. He's a very smart
In
basketball
other words,
guy.
you hate Tim. Go ahead.
No, but he quote tweeted
Yeah.
and said this is masterclass propaganda, and I took that as well. In a way, I have a big take on Mobley and DPOY, so yes,
see
it
that
was
overtime.
propaganda, but now I got to back it up.